It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You're tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710K and US. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you woke up in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, as well as the Dan Caplis text line. If you send us a text here, it'll go right into the studio. Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Yeah, you won't text Dan. You'll text us, but the Dan Caplis Law text line.
I'm just saying, for the right amount of money, I might be able to make that text line available to you. I was just saying.
Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. That'll come right into the studio. Message and data rates apply.
That is cool. I feel like we're part of the big boys because everybody else has like their sponsored text line.
Right,
stuff.
I
hear
know.
all the time. Now, yes, we are playing with the big boys. We now have the Dan.
Who's going to sponsor the Jeff Bill Jet?
Yes, I like that idea. Yeah, the problem is it's going to be like a two-seater. It's not going to be any good because that's all we can afford here at the station at this point. But that's okay. That's okay. It's not because Dan won't write the check. It's just, that's how sponsorship works. We'll put his name on the side of the plane, though. That's okay.
Yes,
I'd love to do that. Yeah.
That'd be very cool. Wrap it like they do down in Florida,
really
where they wrap everything.
I know. I've got a friend that's doing this really interesting. They had to find someone that would do a type of a wrap, and they wanted some graphic designs on the side. Yeah. And I never thought about that before. I was thinking painting, etc. But now they're like, no, it's like giant stickers. I'm like, putting stickers on your adult car? But that's what it really is. And so now I make fun of my friend. I'm like, how's your car with the stickers? I'm like, shut up. It looks really cool. Again, it's a
really cool stickers.
It is.
I guess we never grow up from being, 5-year-olds and putting stickers on our bikes.
Oh, no, not at all. We don't. We also don't grow up from having little Hot Wheels carts and really into funny looking things because we kind of want the funny looking cars, with the engine coming out of the top, or the big wheels, or all the tinted windows. Yeah, we never get over that. Never.
So big news coming in yesterday afternoon. He's going to visit Aurora.
Wow.
Donald J. Trump says in the next 2 weeks, he's coming. This is big.
Yeah, it is. This is huge.
Because he doesn't come to Colorado all that much.
No, none of them do. None of the presidential candidates come to Colorado very often. Yeah,
they used to. In 2012, when I worked for the Romney campaign, Mitt was here a bunch. Paul Ryan was here a bunch. We did a big rally up at Red Rock.
Don't remind me about the beautiful days of the purple.
Right, right.
We actually mattered.
Well, it felt like somebody liked you, right? Yes. And was pursuing you.
Yeah.
Now we're just kind of.
Yeah, it was kind of like when the cute girl or boy in class was looking at you across the, across, and you're like, were they just looking over here? Were they looking at me? You're like, you're not sure if they were checking you out, if they were just looking at the bird out the window. You weren't sure. But you can tell yourself they were looking at me. They absolutely like my shirt. That's exactly, you can tell yourself that, but that's not the case
in
anymore.
The last few years. No. Trump's gotten progressively less interested in Colorado. 16, he spent some time here, did some rallies. In 20, he came once. It was essentially because Jen Ellis was like, we're landing the plane in Colorado Springs. Because if you got to at least visit my home state once. And they were close at that point. Yeah. Didn't come much during his presidency to Colorado. I think he came one time, gave a speech at the Air Force Academy.
That's about the only reason we get a sitting president to come to Colorado. Very few other reasons other than they go to the Air Force Academy.
Right.
That's about it.
Right. And the fact that he's coming is a big deal because he has not come for any other reason this election cycle. No rallies. We'll see what it does. There's no details yet as to when or what that's going to look like, other than he said in the next 2 weeks, he's going to visit Aurora and Springfield, and he's going to make illegal immigration the big point of these two visits.
Yeah.
So.
The question I've got is if he's here, obviously the logistics, but where do you set up, the rally? I mean,
in Aurora, right? Like where in Aurora do you do it?
It's got to be. So it's got to be in Aurora because it'd be silly to say, hey, he's visiting Aurora and then he's up at Red Rocks, or he's visiting Aurora and he's down at Mile High. That would be kind of sillier at Coors Field. So where does he visit? what does that logistics look like? The other part is he's a TV guy, so he's going to want the right visual, which was one of the things I found ironic in his recent talk in California about how he was like, California and America sucks. And he picks one of the most beautiful coastlines in America to do that as the backdrop. And you're like, I don't think this is getting across visually. I mean, I know what he's doing, but I'm like, visually, I'm not sure. Like, there's no way he could go down near the apartment complexes, for security. There's no way they could secure that location.
Why couldn't they? I thought everything was fine.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I like the sarcasm there. That would be the place to do it, or go down and do it near the parking lot where they had the riot. But again, he's not going to want to be in a parking lot with a bunch of brick and mortar stores behind him. That's not going to have the visual that he's looking for. So I'm super curious about
one option, because Romney and Elway did it, was Wings Over the Rockies.
Because
you get all the planes, which is kind of cool.
And it does the military thing, and you've got some wonderful backgrounds there, and that's where I got punched in the face. So why not? That'd be great. That'd be a wonderful place for him to go. I can say, hey,
Bill,
I got punched in the face.
A little PTSD here.
I just think it's hilarious. I just think that it would be so cool if Donald Trump did his rally in the same place that an old woman punched me in the face. That would be a nice connection I could have with the location. That would be wonderful.
Forever.
Yes, exactly. I can tell everybody about it.
So DJT will be visiting here. We'll provide all the updates and coverage you need to know about that as it comes through. Maybe we could possibly get an interview with him.
I'm looking at you, my friend. He doesn't take my phone calls.
We'll see if we can do that. Skip the Kyle Clark interview. Come hang out with us, DJT. It'll be a lot. First of all, it'll be a lot more fun.
Oh yeah,
because we don't hate you to our core like the other journalists in Colorado do.
Yeah.
We'd have a lot of fun. So
yeah, we would. It would be a great conversation, and I wouldn't be mean. I'd ask certain questions as far as follow-ups, but the idea is he's giving us this time. I'll push back, but I'm not going to be mean about it, and it's not going to be a fight. It would be an idea of him. I would give him, if we're lucky enough that he comes on the air, I would allow him the opportunities to expand on his platform. I would give him these setup questions to expand on what he's trying to do, because I think that would be fair. They would be reasonable. They would be genuine questions, and they would be questions I would believe that many of the unaffiliated voters in Colorado would want to hear. Just some basics on some things. How would we accomplish this? How do you want to do this? What does this sound like? Things like that. I wouldn't give him the softballs, but I would make sure that they're germane to his visit and what he's doing here and why. Yeah, I'm not going to submarine him, but that would be a lot of fun.
Good friend of the show, Eric Manning. What about the Gaylord, where you held the Western Conservative Summit one year?
That's a good one. That's nice.
It's a little fancy.
It is fancy, but the other part is that it looks really good. But think about the visuals. Western Conservative Summit. It's a wonderful setup. But the background, it's still the hotel background. You still have the interior of the hotel. And that's the thing is if you're at the Gaylord, you'd have to almost be outside and you're shooting back with the mountains behind you is what you'd have to do if you're doing it there and it'd have to be an outdoor.
I'll be honest, that's a weird hotel.
Yeah.
Not because of what's going on inside.
Yeah.
But because of what's going on outside. They literally put a 5-star hotel in the middle of a neighborhood in Aurora.
Yeah, they did. Well,
it's like literally surrounded by tract homes.
Yeah, it is. And that's probably where we will see in that area. Elitch's will go out there. McNichols Arena is going to go out there. Probably that would be where the new stadium would go if they get that ever built, because that's why the Gaylord is set there. That's the anchor point for everything else they want to bring out of downtown, because Denver, while they don't want to lose the idea of having the Nuggets, the Broncos, having the Avalanche down there and having
it's not a good experience anymore.
It isn't a good experience. And the other part is this: they look at all of that empty asphalt when nobody is playing and when Elitch's isn't open, when the Broncos aren't playing, and they see tax dollar revenue. That's what the Denver fathers are looking at, is they see all of this untapped tax revenue for homes and retail spaces. So they want the parking lot. They don't want to lose the teams. They want the parking lots. So that's why there's a good chance that the teams are going to move outside of Denver proper. Yeah.
So DJT to be visiting Aurora in the next 2 weeks. We'll provide all the details, updates, and coverage you need, and hopefully you can be a part of it. This is probably it, folks.
Yeah.
This is probably the only time DJT is going to be visiting Colorado this election cycle. So prioritize. You want to get out there. You want to see the rally. You want to be a part of that. this is going to be the time to do it. So
yeah,
we'll get you those details.
Review the homeless camping stuff in case you want to sleep out for a couple of days. Figure out what the rules are. Just suggesting, because as someone slept out for concert tickets, I'm just saying, know the rules.
I think that's when Mike Johnston will bring you a check by, right?
Yeah,
you just get to sleep outside, and here comes the mayor with a debit card
here we
for
go.
you.
That'd be so funny if they're out there sleeping and the mayor comes by and it's like, here, we've got these services. Here's your job program. It's like, no, we're waiting for DJT. Right. And he starts taking them back. Get back. That would be great.
We got to get to the news and commentary with Blake Olson. But after that, we've got a great show for you. Fascinating study that came out from the Institute for Family Studies, the Blue State Family Exodus. You'll never guess how many thousands of families have left Colorado since the last presidential election, and they're moving to more red states. So we'll give you those details. Plus, we'll get into third-term abortion in Colorado because Kamala Harris says it's not happening. And some folks called Dr. Hearn up in Boulder to see what he's doing. Give you the insights on that. Ian Escalante, Executive Director of Rocky Mountain Gun Owners, joins us live in studio in the 8 o'clock hour. And then Yasmin Navarro, she's candidate for State Board of Education in Congressional District 8 with Gabe Evans. So if Gabe does well, Yasmin does well. If Yasmin does well, Gabe does well. We'll talk about all of that with her in the 9 o'clock hour. And then also big news. The Teamsters deciding they won't endorse in this upcoming elections. Does that spell bad news for Kamala Harris? So lots to talk about. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text the show on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Let's check in on news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff and Billy. It's 50 and clear in Denver, expecting a high of 83 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
I grew up understanding the children of the community are the children of the community.
You know, when we talk about our children, I know for this group, we all believe that when we talk about the children of the community, they are the children of the community.
Yes, they are. Kamala Khan is back at it. Same old. And former President Trump is returning to Colorado, as Jeff and Billy just talked about, in the next 2 weeks. He told the crowd at a New York rally last night he'll visit Aurora to raise more awareness about the dangers of illegal immigration as Venezuelan gangs have taken over some buildings and other areas in recent months. Governor Polis says if Trump shows up, he'll see Aurora is a strong, vibrant, and diverse city. Kamala Khan created all the chaos as the failed border czar, and Trump continues to shoot straight with Harris on every issue.
Let me also deliver a message straight to Kamala Harris, the radical left Democrat politicians, and the fake news media. Look how many are there. We've got to get our media back in this country. We've got to get them back. But the message is it's time to stop the lies, stop the hoaxes, stop the smears.
The Fed is announcing its first interest rate cut since the man-made Wu flu. Wall Street says that it's the closest central bank has come to enacting an easing cycle just before an election in nearly half a century. The Teamsters Union says they will not be endorsing a presidential candidate in this election cycle. Teamsters President Sean O'Brien said neither major candidate was able to make serious commitments to our union.
Whatever the critics out there, and they're very few in the leadership, whenever I get an opportunity to highlight the American worker, especially the Teamster worker, I'm going to take any and all venue. We asked both conventions respectively at the same time, and the Republican National Convention immediately responded to us, didn't try and edit any of our messages, and I was hopeful that the Democrats would do the same, but they didn't. I'm not upset about it, but I can tell you this, my rank and file members who have been lifelong Democrats are not happy about it.
Jurors will begin deciding tomorrow if Ahmad Alissa is sane or insane when he gunned down 10 people at the King Soopers in Boulder 3 years ago. Both sides will be in court today to work through jury instructions. Prosecutors claim Melissa spent time planning and preparing for the mass shooting. The defense argues he suffers from mental illness and didn't know right from wrong. The wildfire in Larimer County continues to burn. As of last night, the blaze remains at 128 acres and 5% containment. The wildfire began burning Monday in the Crystal Lakes area. 320 personnel are assigned to the fire. One structure has sustained damage. 3 men face attempted murder charges for their roles in kidnapping and torturing a fellow housemate in Jefferson County. Authorities say a man reported to hospital staff that he was tied up and tortured over a 14-hour period at a home in the 4700 block of South Oak Court. Jason Carlson, Sherelle Allen, and Luke Anaya were all arrested at the home. Investigators are working to find a fourth suspect. And if you wonder why morale in the military is so low, listen to retired General Stephen Anderson.
Kamala Harris would be just the opposite. Why? Because she's an inspiration. Not only is she positive, and does she bring hope and optimism, but as a Black woman, the product of a mixed marriage, she will inspire millions of people throughout the world. Our credibility as a nation, that we would be able to allow, our country is so great that we're allowed a woman like that to become the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States. That is going to send a powerful message all over the world. People like Vladimir Putin are going to say, hey, wait a minute. These guys, they truly have a democratic country. They truly are representative. They truly are fighting for all their people. And Kamala Harris is a manifestation of that.
Hold on. That's a general?
Retired general. What freaking planet am I on?
I know.
My God. He hit everything. He's talking about mixed marriage. He's talking about her. I mean, just it is disgusting.
It is shockingly bad that you would think that somehow a mixed marriage would send a message to our enemies that's going to make them think differently about the United States. Like that.
Oh my God.
That's the issue that's going to finally get Vladimir Putin to back down.
Exactly.
Whoa, wow. Did you see who she married?
Right. It's so amazing how they have her. They're incredible. We cannot attack.
What was
them.
that general's name that retired general?
Stephen Anderson.
Holy cow.
You got that right. I almost drove off the road when I heard
there's got to be something, a deeper analysis to how the Obama administration remade our military.
No, there's no doubt.
Because
they
that
infiltrated and they got guys like him in there. It's probably like 3 to 5%, and the rest of the military is awesome. But it's the people at the top who are commies, evidently.
I mean, that is like a fundamental difference in military leadership than what America was for the first 240 years.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is so focused on bizarre elements like and did you how a mixed marriage is somehow going to provide for the national defense of this country?
Right. Did you hear his enthusiasm?
Right.
Oh my goodness. It was like he was talking about a tank or something. I mean, it was disgusting. I'll play it again later.
Please
in the next hour, because people need to hear this stuff.
Wow. Great find.
Incredible. Thank you. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. 47 in Castle Pines, 49 in Louisville, 50 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue on Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your 710 5-day forecast. A lot of sunshine today, mostly sunny skies for Friday as well. We'll end the work week with highs in the middle and upper 80s and lows right around the middle and upper 50s. For your weekend, Saturday, highs in the low 70s. Scattered showers developing by the afternoon with areas of heavy rain possible Saturday night and Sunday. Highs Sunday only near 60. Weather brought to you by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or income for life. Get your review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. I'm still kind of shocked at what the general said. I mean, that's a brigadier general, retired from the U.S. Army. We'll get to that later with Bill, or with Blake as he replays that audio. But a commander basing your opinion on the success of the commander in chief based upon the skin color of somebody they married. That's just, I feel like that's about as woke and DEI as you can get out there. Came across this interesting article out of Institute for Family Studies. 6,000 families have left Colorado since the last presidential election. That's a decline of 0.5%, but it puts Colorado in the top 10 states that have lost the most families to other states. Now, with the exception of Alaska and Louisiana, they're pretty much all Democrat states. New York has lost 71,000 families. California has lost 92,000 families. Oregon, 7,000 families. Washington, 12,000 families. Massachusetts, 10,000 families. And where are they going? Well, mostly, but not entirely, but mostly they're heading to Republican states. Idaho has gotten a gain of 9,000 families. Montana, a gain of 4,000 families. South Dakota, a gain of 15,000 families. South Dakota, 2,000 families. South Carolina, 15,000 families. Arizona got an increase of 16,000 families. And what's fascinating about this is that those Democrat states that have lost families are the ones that are trying to implement things like mandatory paid family leave, child tax credits, those things that would kind of generally appeal to the families, universal school lunches, those types of things. But families are not making those the priority. Instead, what they're making a priority is school choice, lower taxes, strong job growth, and in my universe, values. Can your girls play sports without boys participating in it? Those types of things. Families are choosing to leave states, even if the government provides more resources, provides that universal school, preschool, provides the the universal school lunches, the universal paid family leave, the child tax credits, all of that, even though those states are providing government services for families, it seems to be, according to the Institute for Family Studies, that what families are primarily interested in is strong job growth and values that reflect traditional family values. That matters to folks. Do you know families that have chosen to leave Colorado, and what was the reason why they chose to leave Colorado? We lost 6,000 families in the last 4 years. Why do you think that is? I'd love to hear from you. And are you sticking it out? Are you looking at Colorado going, this is a great place for my family? Or are you looking at Colorado going, this is a really challenging place for my family, but there's other reasons to stay here? I'll tell you from our perspective, from the Hunt family perspective, we would not be living here if we didn't have family here. We like Colorado. We like being outside. There's some benefits to that. There's not as many bugs. We lived in Washington, D.C., where in the summer you don't go outside as much. So the bug issue, the humidity issue kept us away from the East Coast, and it's one of the reasons we like Colorado, but we are very frustrated with the direction of the state as it relates to our values, and it's primarily family that's here that keeps us here. So I'd love to hear from you. What's keeping you in Colorado? Are you happy raising a family here? Would you move to another state to raise your family? And do you know folks that joined the 6,000 families that have left the state of Colorado looking for greener pastures? Give me a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Bill, what do you think of, in that article, them pointing out that values and policies related to job growth, school choice, those types of things seem to be of greater value to families than universal paid family leave, universal school lunches, and child tax credits? Do you think the Democrats are missing it with families?
The question I've got that I didn't hear and I didn't see in the study was housing costs. That's the part.
That pops up here. That's a big part of it. That's a big part of it.
That's where I would put it. It's housing cost.
Yeah.
It's anecdotally, the families that I know that have moved out of the state moved because of housing cost. It had nothing to do with school choice or values or anything else. It was, we're going to go to a state where we can get a job and be able to buy a house. A friend of the show, George Brockler, his brother moved out of the state a couple of years ago, and it was a really, really hard decision. But based on where the family was at the time, they weren't going to be able to afford their own home, and they prioritized that. They said, this is something that is a priority for us, and we are not going to be able to do it here. So they moved to Minnesota, and they have a wonderful home there that is far bigger than anything they could ever afford here in the near future. And I've got a friend that has gone, she's taken her family from California to Texas, back to California, back to Texas, and now she's back in California. And originally it was the housing cost move. And this is over the course of 12 years or so is what I'm talking about, the timeline. And again, all this is anecdotal. She went originally to Texas because it was housing and the cost of living was cheaper and job opportunities. Then when she got there, the job opportunities weren't the same that she had in California. And the issue being just population centers, the types of jobs. She said that, yeah, she understood cost of living was less, but she took a significant pay cut to go into Texas. That's one of the reasons she ended up going back to California. And also the move, the first time that she moved back from Texas to California was because her kids were completely and totally unsettled, that the move was such a culture shock to them, and they're minorities. And so they were in communities where they went from being part of the community to being the only ones that looked like them. There were maybe 3 other people in the community that looked like that. And it was difficult. And then also when they went to Texas, they said versus California, the summers were awful. They really hated the climate change as well there, just based on, not the climate change, the weather change. Yeah, based on what they were experiencing. For me, it comes down to probably jobs and housing. Those would be the two things that people are moving for. Because what I would submit is, if you're moving to things like, I'm going to go somewhere that is more conducive to my values, you probably are at an economic strata that you're doing fine. You're not struggling. The people that are going to be moving out based on housing and jobs are going to be the people that are struggling economically. So if you have the ability to move around the country based on, I want to go somewhere that, that is more close to my values, you're probably on an upper economic plane anyway, and it's going to be much easier for you to move. 6,000 families out of Colorado is significant because of what it does to our educational system and what it does based on schooling. We know that Denver Public Schools is struggling in certain communities right now because interior Denver is so difficult and so expensive right now to afford anything. You have got long-standing elementary schools, middle schools, and even some high schools that are suffering from enrollment drops because people can't afford those neighborhoods. And then you can't get the teachers that want to spend the 45 minutes to an hour driving in because they can't live close enough to the school. So that's a detriment as well. So I think part of it, the thing that I would hang my hat on is housing. That's the solution, is we got to figure that one out. I don't think there's an easy solution, but that's just my opinion.
Text messages coming in 8913. We moved to South Carolina in June. I'm 62, and as a Colorado native, primary drivers were housing cost and the political direction of the state. This article out of Institute for Family Studies points out that Minnesota was going a pretty good direction with regards to net families moving into the state until Tim Walz showed up. And then you had net family exodus out of Minnesota. So what does it mean that in some of these states, they implement generous government programs for families, but it doesn't seem to be the winning issue for some of those families?
Yeah. I think it's fair, because the idea that it is more about the economic issues around your table. The gentleman that talked about South Carolina, it was housing he understood the politics, but again, the housing cost was probably the primary motivator as far as the move. Another radio friend of mine recently moved out to Minnesota, but that was to chase their son that's going to the University of Minnesota. He's going to be out there, and that's where he's going. He's on a scholarship. But if they establish residency there, it is much easier for them to afford college. It becomes incredibly more affordable to pay for the University of Minnesota if you're a native than you are out of state. Plus, they were from Minnesota originally. So this is kind of them returning home. That's where they came out of. It's where the couple met. There are a lot of things that happened there. I mean, guy lived here for years, still had season tickets to the Minnesota Vikings. So he'd go back a couple of times a year. So he is unusual. I'm not putting him out there as a typical type of a person that would make that move, but he made the move. And it was interesting because he was trying to establish in-state residency to get the tuition for his son. And he knows it's not going to kick in for the first couple of years. But actually, when he said when it gets a little bit more expensive and if he wants to do grad school, it's phenomenally more affordable for them. So that's the reason they made the move and to go home.
Interesting study. Families are leaving the blue states, heading to those red and purple states. Give me your thoughts. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Speaking of Dan Caplis, let me tell you why I love this guy. I've known him for well over a decade. This guy is pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. That matters because you should choose a lawyer who shares your values. You just flip through the phone book and find a random attorney to represent you in an injury case. It's going to tell a lot to everybody involved in the case about who you are and where you stand. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer. He's a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. But you're probably saying to yourself, well, he's just got to be reserved for the rich and wealthy. No, Dan is a person of faith who wants to serve everybody. If you're involved in a righteous injury case, he's willing to serve on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call at 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551 or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS Law.com. We'll get to your calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Weil in Dallas, and here are your top stories. The International Brotherhood of Teamsters publicly releasing 6 months of membership polling data on who union members preferred, showing that President Donald Trump beat out Kamala Harris by a whopping 58 to 31%. However, union leaders decided not to endorse either candidate. Unions notoriously endorse Democrats in each election, so many are now saying this is indeed a blow to Harris and are questioning Sean O'Brien's statement when he said there was no definitive data showing union member support for one candidate over the other, pointing to the polling data that was released on Wednesday.
It's a great honor. They're not going to endorse the Democrats. That's a big thing. And this is the first time in, I guess, 50, 60 years that that's happened. Democrats automatically have the Teamsters.
The last time a union did not endorse a presidential candidate was in 1996. Israel's defense minister declared a new phase of war as officials from the terror organization Hezbollah and Lebanon state media say explosions went off in Beirut and multiple parts of Lebanon in an apparent second wave of detonations of electrical devices. Hezbollah officials and state media said Wednesday that walkie-talkies and even solar equipment detonated a day after hundreds of pagers blew up. Lebanon's health ministry says at least 14 people were killed and 450 were wounded. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Weil, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Speaking of disappearing, the libs are making the families of Colorado disappear. A new study in the Institute for Family Studies. Parents are not generally moving towards states with the preferred family policies of progressives. They're moving out of those states. Today, the family-friendly policies and cultural distinctives that matter most for parents are more likely to be found in red and purple states, not in blue states. Blue states that voted for Democratic presidential candidates in both 2016 and 2020 lost 213,000 families in 2021 and 2022. While red states that voted for President Trump in both elections gained 181,000 families. Colorado lost 6,000 families since 2021, 2022. Interesting analysis of going, kind of government programs like universal paid family leave, universal lunches, universal preschool don't matter as much as housing costs, job opportunities, and maybe cultural issues for families. They don't want their girls being forced to play sports with boys. Those types of things. School choice matters a lot to families. So are people leaving Colorado? What are you seeing? 7586. Both my neighbors left over the past 4 years because they could sell their homes for a ridiculous profit. And they moved south. So housing issues there. Our daughter and family moved to South Carolina due to political direction of the state and educational opportunities for our only grandchild. Karen from Littleton. Thanks. Let's go to Bradley, Eastern Colorado. Good morning, Bradley. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. I had two instances. One friend of mine was he worked in construction. He wasn't too well off, but they did all right. They had a house in Aurora. There were gunshots going off every night over there, and the neighbor down the street got shot and killed. SWAT came in. It was an absolute mess. And he decided to move his whole family to El Paso, partly because of what Billy was saying too. Housing costs. They could buy something nicer down there for the less than what their house was in Aurora. They were able to sell that house in Aurora, which wasn't too nice, for quite a bit of money compared to what they could get in El Paso. But mostly really turned off by the governor and the direction of where the state was going politically. Another friend of mine, a little bit in different shoes, kind of born into plenty of money, but worked hard, had a construction business, still has it, I think. And he's from Denver, family lives here. And he moved into a pretty nice place off of like Monaco and Cherry Creek Drive area. His truck got stolen. And his wife was teaching in Aurora public schools as well. And they had it as well. And they moved to Idaho. And they love it up there. So two instances, different scenarios slightly, but
in both cases, not wanting to stick around Colorado. I mean, do you think Colorado offers a lot for families right now?
Not really. I grew up here, but I moved to Hawaii actually and worked over there. We were going to stay for 1 or 2 years. Almost stayed 6. And my wife wanted to move back. And so we did move back and been back for a while. Got a great job. Nice to be, back in Colorado, home and everything. But in the time we've been back here, I've seen it just on a decline, especially, in town.
Yeah, I mean,
wouldn't live anywhere close to town. We like to live out east.
Outside of the kind of weather, location, those types of things, the politics are not offering a lot for families in Colorado right now. They're not going, wow, this is a really great state. I appreciate, the 40,000 illegal immigrants that have come into the city of Denver. That's great family policy. Or the crime issues we deal with downtown, or the homeless issues we deal with downtown, or the effort to raise our taxes by debrucing or getting rid of Tabor. No, families aren't going, gosh, that's really a state that I want to be a part of. I think they're tolerating those issues because they like the location. They like being outdoors. It's a really beautiful state to live in. But 6,000 families in 2021, 2022 said, we're out of here. And that's a net loss. So you actually probably had more that left compared to that came in. Go ahead, Bradley.
Like how many have come in though from like places like California?
That's a good question. This gets into the net migration numbers. So not as many as that left. Bradley, really appreciate the call.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much. We'll continue this conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, Billy, let's give the people one.
Yes, this is that time of the morning where we get to make questionable decisions. It's something we call You Choose the News, America's favorite fake radio news game show. We have spent mere moments scouring the interwebs for really dumb stories about us humans, giving them even more ridiculous headlines to play this fake radio news game show. Why? Because nobody in charge has any idea we're doing it. They don't wake up for about another 8 minutes, so we are going to take full advantage when we are left without any sort of supervision. So, shh. This is a secret. Alrighty. Jeff Hunt, Blake Olson in the newsroom. Here are your choices this morning, sirs. Headline number 1, Sammy Hagar advice. Headline number 2, love in the air. Headline number 3, debate, is Vince McMahon approved? And headline number 4, they're called perks, people.
Let's do the debate.
Yes, debate, is Vince McMahon approved? We are traveling to the Brazilian city of Sao Paulo this morning with you because recently a broadcast video live on TV shows a tense exchange between two political rivals when all of a sudden it went WWE. Full contact wrestling. One of the candidates picked up a folding chair, steel chair, and hit his opponent with it multiple times. His opponent required some minor care at a local hospital. What was the reason? Well, the assaulter said the assaultee, his opponent, had brought up previous old sexual harassment allegations. He said they were dismissed several years ago. He felt that wasn't the way to deal with it, so he took things into his own hands and decided the best way to do it was with a chair. And smacky the opponent. I know. I can't figure out, does that make you vote for him or
I was going to say, is he going to get more votes or less votes?
Exactly. How is this going to help? I have no idea. But I'm just saying, if there was some sort of a wrestling or physical challenge in our debates, I would watch much more often. I think that should be part of it. It's like, what would you do about foreign policy? Now, quick. Who can do this math problem? I would like that. I think there would be certain things we could do, or see who could run around the track quickest. There's some things we could do here. Make the whole thing double there, you know?
So is that a work or a shoot?
That is a shoot, sir.
Okay,
that is absolutely a shoot. Alrighty. Now, speaking of shoots, already here, Blake Olson, your choice, sir. Sammy Hagar advice, love in the air, or they're called perks, people.
Oh, yeah. Let's go with Sammy Hagar.
Yes, this is some Sammy Hagar advice. We are traveling to Savannah, Georgia, and meeting Mr. Connor Cato. Mr. Cato recently said, yeah, he knew he was speeding. It was a 55 zone. He was cresting over 90. He saw the photo radar. Yeah, I know. The ticket arrives. It's 7 figures. He gets a $1.4 million speeding ticket.
Wow.
He's like, okay. He goes ahead and he calls the Savannah courthouse and says, I'm sorry, I'm not rich. I'm going to have to come down there and be in court. And they said, well, sir, what's your fine? He goes, the 1.4 million. And they went, oh, sorry, that's a mistake. Turns out the 1.4 million is only a placeholder. No one filled out the actual fine amount when they were going to send in the ticket. So
why would that be a placeholder? Because it's so big that people are like, well, clearly that's not right.
Yeah, clearly that's wrong. But obviously, whoever was pushing the button on the send didn't notice. So whatever they were saying as far as a placeholder, well, it didn't work out. Didn't hold the plays that well, did it? No.
They must have been really bored.
Exactly. I know. Just like
why not make the placeholder 0?
Exactly. Something else than that, but no, because they want the extra money. The government always wants more money.
That's true.
All right,
why are we shocked about that?
Exactly. Final choice this morning, Mr. Hunt. Love is in the air, or they're called perks, people.
They're called what?
Perks.
Perks people.
Hey, they're called perks people. We are going to New York. 6 New York City public school system employees are under fire and being investigated right now because they took their children or grandchildren on trips to Disney World, New Orleans, and other locations. Doesn't seem like a really big deal, does it? No, other than the fact that these trips were part of a program for underserviced kids and homeless kids, and the homeless kids didn't get to go because the people in the New York City department decided to take their own kids instead. Perks, people. If you can't take advantage of the system, what good is it being a government official? Right. Am I right? You feel me? That's the end of You Choose the News. Back to you, Jeff.
All right, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. During the recent debate with DJT and Kamala Harris, this was Kamala Harris talking about late-term abortion.
Would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America.
All right, so nobody in America is taking a pregnancy to term and then aborting the baby. Well, folks may have heard of a doctor named Dr. Hearn. He's up in Boulder, and he does precisely that. So they decided to call him, and we'll give you the answers of what his abortion facility said about carrying babies to term and then providing an abortion. We'll give you some truth and insight on that coming up after news and commentary with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 49 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 83 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
Head hate on me. Can't stop DJT, and I ain't going nowhere, so you can get to know me.
DJT is going to visit Aurora in the next few weeks. That's what he told the crowd at a New York rally last night. He'll discuss the dangers of illegal immigration as Venezuelan gangs have made news in the last month. Governor Polis says if Trump shows up, he'll see Aurora as a strong, vibrant, and diverse city. The border czar created all the chaos the past 3.5 years. And speaking of Kamala Khan, Trump talking to her last night.
Let me also deliver a message straight to Kamala Harris, the radical left Democrat politicians, and the fake news media. Look how many are there. We've got to get our media back in this country. We've got to get them back. But the message is it's time to stop the lies, stop the hoaxes, stop the smears.
Don't hold your breath. The Teamsters Union says they will not be endorsing a presidential candidate this election. Cycle Teamsters President Sean O'Brien says neither major candidate was able to make serious commitments to our union.
Whatever the critics out there, and they're very few in the leadership, whenever I get an opportunity to highlight the American worker, especially the Teamster worker, I'm going to take any and all venue. We asked both conventions respectively at the same time, and the Republican National Convention immediately responded to us, didn't try and edit any of our messages, and I was hopeful that the Democrats would do the same, but they didn't. I'm not upset about it, but I can tell you this, my rank and file members who have been lifelong Democrats are not happy about it.
No, they are not. The wildfire in Larimer County continues to burn. As of last night, the blaze remains at 128 acres and 5% containment. The wildfire began burning Monday in the Crystal Lakes area. 320 personnel are assigned to the fire, and one structure has sustained damage. Jurors will begin deciding tomorrow if Ahmad Alyssa was sane or insane when he gunned down 10 people at the King Soopers in Boulder 3 years ago. Both sides will be in court today to work through jury instructions. An elementary school teacher in Greeley is accused of assaulting a student. Police say they learned on August 30th about allegations that a teacher attacked a 6-year-old student at Maplewood Elementary. An investigation was launched, and the teacher, Joshua David Wainscott, was placed on administrative leave. Wainscott was later arrested on charges of assault, strangulation, and child abuse. 3 men face attempted murder charges for their roles in kidnapping and torturing a fellow housemate in Jefferson County. Authorities say a man reported to a hospital staff that he was tied up and tortured for over a 14-hour period at a home in the 4700 block of South Oak Court. Jason Carlson, Sherelle Allen, and Luke Anaya were all arrested at the home. Investigators working to find a fourth suspect. And once again, if you haven't heard this, on Messy NBC, you wonder why the morale in the military is so low. This is retired General Stephen Anderson.
Kamala Harris would be just the opposite. Why? Because she's an inspiration. Not only is she positive and does she bring hope and optimism, but as a black woman, the product of a mixed marriage, she will inspire millions of people throughout the world. Our credibility as a nation, that we would be able to allow, our country is so great that we're allowed a woman like that to become the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States. That is going to send a powerful message all over the world. People like Vladimir Putin are going to say, hey, wait a minute. These guys, they truly have a democratic country. They truly are representative. They truly are fighting for all their people. And Kamala Harris is a manifestation of that.
Yes, yes. Oh, yes, that's exactly what Putin's going to be doing.
Kim Jong-il shoots up in the middle of the night. Did you see the melatonin on the person they just elected? That is a truly democratic nation. I am withdrawing my threat.
Yes, there's no way we can attack them. Those mixed marriages are incredible. I mean, they're just so dangerous. Wow. Unbelievable. I mean, it's just sickening. Hey, God bless him for serving our country, but man, that's the infiltration.
Yes,
of
that
our
is
military
that is the
right
infiltration.
there.
That's exactly right. And it's the woke mind virus that goes, do we have the most awful and intimidating fighting force the world has ever seen that takes our enemies and puts them back on their heels because we are so lethal in our military activities? Or do we put leaders in office that care about who another person marries based upon their skin color? What?
Stupid.
Just and this goes back to the debate, Blake, where I thought Donald Trump had a great answer to Kamala Harris. And are you Indian one day? Are you black on the other? He just goes, I don't care.
Right?
Nobody cares anymore.
Cares.
It's about your ability to serve. It's a meritocracy.
Yeah, and you know what? I think we're making a shift here because I don't think you would have heard this 5 years ago. Because people, I think, are starting to see, I think God's allowing this to happen, that it is America. It's American first. Who cares? We don't care about white, black, brown. Are you American or are you not American? Because Pastor Alton Williams talks about culture instead. It doesn't have anything to do with race. It has everything to do with culture. So he was talking to his congregation about Haiti, and here's just a little snippet of what he said. I'll play more of it later, but this is phenomenal.
If you eat the animal, you will get more power inside of you. And so they eat the animals, and demons are the ones that come on the inside. I'm preaching up in here today. I'm preaching up here. They don't tell you that in the media because they're trying to hide it. They don't want you to see it because they don't want the people to become alert to what's happening, where they're spreading these people all over the country. Springfield, Ohio ain't got but 67,000 people, but they brought in 15,000 migrants from Haiti.
So right before that, he was talking about how he knows has a Haitian friend who is educating him on all of this stuff, and Trump is not telling lies and deceiving people. I mean, this stuff is happening. We all know it's happening, and I'll have more in the next few hours from him, Alton Williams. So good stuff.
Blake, going back to the general, it was that type of feel good that permeated our military. I was watching with the family 13 Hours the other day because it's 9/11, and that's the movie about Benghazi, and And, as we get further and further removed from this idea that we're going to just bring democracy to these cultures, it feels so good, right? They're going to love and celebrate us in these Islamist countries if we just bring them democracy. And we did it in Afghanistan and Iraq, and then in Libya and then they just killed us. And their cultures are so backwards that you're never going to be able to establish a democracy in there. And I'm sitting there watching the film going, we are sending our boys and we're sending our daughters to die in a hellhole in a country that does not want to embrace our values, does not care about us. And it's those types of generals right there that we just listen to that have, that sacrificed our sons and daughters in these other countries because they live by these progressive ideals that just are not in reality. I'm sorry, they just don't exist in reality. Vladimir Putin is not looking at Kamala Harris's marriage and saying, well, that's a really good democratic country. I'm not going to threaten the United States anymore. They're out to lunch. And we put these people in charge of our country, and we sacrificed our sons and daughters. By this woke ideology.
He is evil, and all the entire ideology is evil, and it is masquerading in different clothing, and people fall for that garbage. And if it just gives you some question in your belly, you know what? That's not right. Then it probably is not right.
That's right.
And that's what we heard from him. All right. It is 46 in Lone Tree right now, 47 in North Glen, 49 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue Thursday morning. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your 710 5-day forecast, a lot of sunshine today, mostly sunny skies for Friday as well. We'll end the work week with highs in the middle and upper 80s and lows right around the middle and upper 50s. For your weekend, Saturday, highs in the low 70s. Scattered showers developing by the afternoon with areas of heavy rain possible Saturday night and Sunday. High Sunday only near 60. Weather brought to you by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or income for life. Get your review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill. Right. Colorado, you got an important amendment on your ballot this year, Amendment 79, which would constitutionalize abortion into the state of Colorado, which would allow for taxpayer funding of abortion. It would remove parental notification requirements and would basically stop any type of effort to put any type of restriction whatsoever on abortion, including late-term abortion.
Now, that's important. We got to go back to the idea, and someone had, a friend of the show had enumerated that I don't think either one of us realized at the time that this amendment would allow state funding for abortions that they're not currently allowed to do. And that is the major push. So when we talk about this, that needs to be, in my mind, needs to be one of the primaries, just like you outlined, that we need to keep coming back to that, because that seems to be the reason that, regardless of your opinion one way or the other, this is about them cracking open funding and changing some of the rules that exist right now. It's a great point. Sorry, continue.
Nope, that's right. So you're going to be voting on it. It's also one of the most important issues in this election between Republicans and Democrats. And I want to bring a little clarity to where Colorado is on this. Here's Harris in the 2024 debate with Donald Trump.
Would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and in asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America.
So term generally means viability, the idea that they could live outside the womb, third trimester, those types of things. Full term would be like all the way to 40 weeks. Trump goes on to try to press her on the issue.
You should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer
That's
the
problem.
question? Would you
because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question.
you
Would you
could
veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
Okay, so Trump jumps to post-birth where they allow the baby to die under a failed abortion attempt. So they go in they try to do a late-term abortion. The baby comes out. It's living and breathing outside the womb. Trump jumps to that. But I want to get into the 7th, 8th, 9th month issue because Kamala Harris specifically said that's not true. Nowhere in America are women bringing children to term and then aborting them. Here was her answer in 2023 when she was asked about any type of line whatsoever, anywhere. You want to be the president of the United States. Can you tell us where the line is on when we're going to put in protections, legal protections on a preborn child?
What is it that you believe? I mean, what week of pregnancy should abortion access be cut off?
We need to restore the protections of Roe versus Wade.
Which
We're
was-
not trying to do something new.
Well, that was
But
nebulous because it was about viability, which could be anywhere between 20 to 24 weeks. And so
no.
Let
me be very clear.
the Women's Health Protection Act that the White House also
let me be
endorsed.
very clear. From day one, the president has been clear. I have been clear. We need to put back the protections that are in Roe v. Wade into law. Since the Supreme Court took it, Congress has the power and ability to pass legislation to put those protections back in law, and Joe Biden will sign that bill. So that is what we want.
But does it need to be specific in terms of defining and where that guarantee goes up to and where it does not, at which week of pregnancy?
We need to put back in place the protections of Roe versus Wade.
You
We
know
are
why
not-
I'm asking you
but
this
I-
question,
but
though, because
we're not trying to do anything that did not exist before June of last year.
It wasn't crafted into law. And that's why I'm asking you for the specifics there, because Republicans say the lack of a precise date in cutting it off. You know this. They say that allows Democrats to perform abortions up until, birth.
Which is ridiculous.
Statistically not accurate.
And it's ridiculous.
I understand
and it's a
that.
mischaracterization of the point. No, the point is,
But do you need to be more precise?
I am being precise. We need to put into law the protections of Roe versus Wade.
Okay, so there's a lot there. What struck me was how sensitive Kamala Harris gets about any discussion about late-term abortion. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Nowhere in America is that happening. That's not happening. She gets very sensitive about it. So if you've been involved at all in the pro-life, pro-choice discussions in Colorado, Colorado has a doctor up in Boulder named Dr. Hearn that does these things. So it's kind of weird to listen to somebody that wants to be the president of the United States that's just outright wrong on this. Of course we do it. And he's generally pretty well known. In fact, The Atlantic did a whole article on him called The Abortion Absolutist. And his position is it is the woman's choice at all times, period, end of story. Even at the very last second, if they don't want to have this child for any reason. And the Atlantic writer writes in this article that during the conversation, and the ones that followed it, I prodded for cracks in Hearn's certainty. At one point, I thought I'd found one. Hearn had told me about a woman who sought an abortion because she didn't want to have a baby girl. I thought he had refused. But when I followed up to ask why, I learned that I had misunderstood. He had said he had done abortions for sex selection twice, once for this woman and once for someone who desperately wanted a girl. It was their choice to make, he explained. So a few pro-life groups have simply called in the last few weeks Dr. Hearn to see if he does these type of late-term abortions. Here's Students for Life.
There are not late-stage abortions.
Yes, actually there are. Here, I'm so glad you asked. I'm going to call an abortionist for you, ma'am.
Call an abortionist? What does that mean?
William Hearn, Boulder Abortion Clinic.
Thank you for calling.
It might still be.
Dr. Hearn's answering service. How may I help you?
Hi, yeah, I just figured out I was pregnant today, and I'm like really far along. Like I'm like 30 weeks. Can I schedule an abortion with you all?
Let me see if I can help with this. One moment here. I mean, right now you're calling the answering service, so I can't actually schedule that appointment. What I can do is route this, like put in the request and just have the office call you back.
Sure, that's fine. On the website here, website says third trimester abortion. So I guess that would be, yep.
Accurate, yeah.
It is accurate. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, accurate. It's on the website.
So that's Students for Life responding to somebody essentially saying the same thing that Kamala Harris said. This doesn't happen. No. What are you talking about? Okay, we just called somebody and proved it did. Here's another person calling Dr. Hearn's office.
Dr. Hearn's office, how can I help you?
I'm around 30 weeks pregnant. Do y'all offer abortion at 30 weeks?
Yes, we do offer abortions at that gestational age.
Is the procedure safe and everything? Like, do y'all do these a lot? I'm just a little nervous about it.
Yeah, it's totally understandable. Yes, we do them a lot. We have been a third trimester abortion clinic since the 70s.
You specialize in later term abortions?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
Is the baby going to feel any pain or anything?
No, it shouldn't. So we do an injection of a medication called digoxin. It will gently and slowly stop the fetal heartbeat.
Is it fully developed or anything yet?
So yes, it would be the third trimester.
It doesn't have like a fully formed heart or head or anything yet, right?
At 32, it does.
Okay. And y'all are still able to do the abortion with the baby being that developed, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Gently stop the fetal heartbeat. Well, that's a nice euphemism for execution. Gently stopping the fetal heartbeat. Isabel Brown, a friend of the show, also called Dr. Hearn's office.
Good morning, Dr. Office. How can I help you?
Hi there. I just started my third trimester, but found out that my child is diagnosed with Down syndrome. I saw on your website that you might offer late-term abortion services and just wanted to see what that looks like.
Sure. Have you had a recent ultrasound?
I did a few weeks ago, yeah.
We do require for your ultrasound to be sent over.
Okay, and even though I just started my 30th week, that's not too late in Colorado to get something done?
There are no legal restrictions in Colorado.
And is it kind of common right now for women to be going through this? I feel like I'm the only person in the world asking these questions, so just wanted to see if this is something that you guys regularly do.
Yes.
Totally normal at 30 weeks.
I don't know what to say. I mean, Kamala Harris said, no, this doesn't happen. Nowhere in America. And in 3 phone calls, they proved that this regularly happens, that it happens to full-term babies that are viable outside the womb, and that there's no restrictions. And Dr. Hearn himself in The Atlantic saying, I'm willing to do it even if it's sex selective. If all of a sudden you decide, I don't want a girl, I don't want a boy, we'll do that for any reasons whatsoever. Amendment 79 will constitutionalize those protections, which means you will not be able to put any restrictions at all on these practices. Republicans over the years have tried to do anything from, can we understand why women are getting abortions? Can we at least survey that so we can reduce these? If it is an economic barrier, we can go out there and try to provide financial support. I mean, this is where I think a lot of conservatives would go, okay, if we need to spend government money to protect a human life, we're going to protect a human life. So if that's an issue that we need to address, we'll address it. That was blocked. We can't survey to figure that out. If you remember Proposition 115, which was an effort to at least restrict late-term abortions. So third trimester, viable outside the womb, perfectly healthy children. We're not going to kill them in the state of Colorado anymore. That was rejected in this state. Efforts to ban sex-selective abortions, so you cannot abort a child simply based on their sex. That was rejected in the state of Colorado. Colorado has no restrictions whatsoever, and the effort of Amendment 79 is to make sure that there can never be any restrictions, that we reduce and get rid of parental notifications so that teenagers are not required to tell their parents that they're about to execute their grandchildren. And they're going to seek to provide government funding for abortions now. Kamala Harris, clearly wrong on this issue. Bill, I want to go back to the original question that struck me is how sensitive Kamala Harris gets when you bring up the idea of the fact that they're even doing late-term abortion.
Yeah, and I don't know why it is difficult for her to address it, because it's fairly simple. That abortions after, so like 32 weeks, which is roughly the third trimester, should only occur if the mother or the baby's life is in danger. There's something going on, because there are cases where you get late in development and you realize, okay, the lungs haven't fully developed. You have things where there are certain genetic things that have gone wrong. There are cases where they haven't developed the frontal cortex. They haven't developed an amygdala. So those are things where the baby's not necessarily viable per se. And so that's part of it. And so that's a portion of it. And I don't understand why it is so difficult for people that believe in the right to choose to address that. I don't understand the push. I've never understood it from the Democrats and the liberals on the idea of not having any restrictions at all, especially up to the end. I think when you get to that portion, the vast majority of Americans believe after 32 weeks that abortion is wrong. They support that. The problem I have when we go back to like Proposition 115, that was a 22-week line, not a 32-week line. That's 10 weeks difference, and that's a second trimester. And personally, though, just on a side note, I think that was marketed poorly. I think the way that that campaign was marketed, the idea of due date too late is a very catchy line, but that's not what the actual body said, because they're saying due date too late. That sounds like when I'm going to deliver the baby. But then when someone looks at it and says, wait, this is 22 weeks, they feel like they've been lied to based on the marketing. That's just my opinion as far as why it didn't gain traction. I thought it was marketed very, very poorly because, again, those individuals that aren't involved in the politics of it, the people that are, again, low information, not stupid, but the people that have so many other things going on in their lives, they don't pay attention to the politics. When they hear due date too late and then they see 22 weeks, on the face, they go, that's different. Those are different based on what you told me about it versus what you're doing. So I think that's why you had some more pushback. I think it was just marketed poorly. The thing that I look at is I don't understand why the Democrats don't want to cede this argument, why they say this is a wrong thing to do, and we should have, fairly strong restrictions on it. Because, and this is why I understand why the Republicans push on this very strongly, but it doesn't get either side to where they want to be. And what I mean by that is the abortions that take place after 32 weeks are less than 1%.
Yeah.
So if we banned them today and said you can't do it at all, you only reduce abortion by less than 1%. So the idea, this is why I find somewhat of the argument with the Republicans, I understand, because it is explosive and it gets attention, but I feel it is somewhat disingenuous because you're looking to reduce less than 1% of these things happening. I can agree with you that, yes, we should reduce them. And I'm not in favor outside of mother's life or the baby having not viability that they should be done. But it doesn't get the Republicans in my mind to the direction they want to go, which is much stronger restrictions. So I keep looking at the ideas. You're pointing at something that happens so infrequently. And I don't understand why the Democrats don't cede on something that happens so infrequently.
I'll tell you why.
Yeah,
I'll
please,
tell you
I'd
why.
love to know.
So the reason why Democrats won't cede on this issue at all is because to cede even a little bit is to grant that there's life in the womb. So for them, it's we can't even cross the line at all, because once we grant that a full-term, viable child inside the womb being killed is wrong, then we're admitting that there's life in the womb that should be protected. And so it is part of their strategy to not ever give an inch.
That's interesting, and I can see that, and I would agree. I think that they are wrong on that. That erodes their idea of giving any, any leeway at all, because I think, again, they can define the idea of you're still allowing a choice because they are pro-choice. And so if you're going to, then you need to still allow those choices. And that's where they should, in my mind, that's where they should be arguing this, not the idea of making it an absolute, because I think when they argue it as an absolute, it hurts their case. So I understand why the GOP is pointing to it. But again, it's going to be less than 1%, so it doesn't accomplish the goal. It's a weird argument.
But it's still about 10,000 abortions a year. So that's 10,000 lives that deserve to be protected. And I think there's any role in government is to protect innocent life. We'd love to get your thoughts on this. You're welcome to join the conversation. Phone lines open 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. Do you think that Amendment 79, which would constitutionalize abortion with no restrictions and allow for taxpayer funding of abortions and the ending of parental notification of abortion in the state of Colorado, is likely to pass? It does need to reach a higher threshold because it is constitutional. I think it has to be above 55%. So let me know if you think it'll pass. Would love to hear from you. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
back to the Jeff and Bill show. Calls here in a second. During the last debate, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump went after the issue of abortion. Here's Donald Trump pressing Kamala.
You should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer
That's
the
problem.
question? Would you
because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question. Would you veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
So Trump regularly jumps to that interview from Virginia, but I actually think the meat of that is the 7th, 8th, 9th month when Kamala Harris says, well, that's not true. That's not true. And it took about 3 or 4 days this week of pro-life people calling Dr. Hearn in Boulder to prove that it is true.
Good morning, Dr. Lopez. How can I help you?
Hi there. I just started my 3rd trimester, but found out that my child is diagnosed with Down syndrome. I saw on your website that you might offer late-term abortion services and just wanted to see what that looks like.
Sure. Have you had a recent ultrasound?
I did a few weeks ago, yeah.
We do require for your ultrasound to be sent over.
Okay, and even though I just started my 30th week, that's not too late in Colorado to get something done.
There are no legal restrictions in Colorado.
And is it kind of common right now for women to be going through this? I feel like I'm the only person in the world asking these questions, so just wanted to see if this is something that you guys regularly do.
Yes.
Totally normal at 30 weeks.
All right, so it's something that we regularly do. Now, you're going to face a question on your ballot, Amendment 79, that will constitutionalize the rights to abortion in the state of Colorado. And if you're pro-choice, that may sound good to you. If you're kind of in the middle, you may have some questions about it because you may ask yourself, first of all, why would we even need to do this? Don't we have no restrictions in the state of Colorado? Yes, we have absolutely no restrictions on abortion in the state of Colorado. We can't even ask questions as to why people get abortions to try to reduce them. This is about as pro-choice as you could possibly get. But this would allow state funding for abortion. It would allow the removal of parental notification requirements for teens getting abortions, and it would prevent any future restrictions. So if you wanted to say you could only have an abortion once the child is viable to protect the health of the mother. So this is a child that can live and breathe outside the womb. That's now starting around 22, 23, 24 weeks. My daughter was born at 27 weeks and was the size of a 25-week-old child. So I've walked through this whole thing. If you just wanted to put that restriction, at that point, you can't kill the child unless it directly threatens the health of the mother. You'd be prevented from doing that in the state of Colorado. So you need to be paying attention to this. It is likely, if this passes, your tax dollars will be going to pay for abortions in the state of Colorado. Let's go to Brian Arvada on the phone lines. By the way, phone lines are open, 303-696-1971. What do you think of all this?
Those phone calls just make me sick to my stomach. I mean, the way they're flippantly talking about, the clinics talking about ending a fetal heartbeat, and the callers actually saying my child.
Yeah.
And it makes me sick. You know, traditionally Republicans have lost on this issue because Democrats would say this is a woman's health rights and they want to take away your women's health rights. And I think the way Trump is framing it now is a winner for all Republicans. Okay, we've already accepted that it's law. And we've accepted that, and there's exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother or child. So we've already accepted that. Now you tell me, when is it not okay? Viability should be the thing that all Republicans are talking about, and holding the Democrats to the fire, saying, "What? Okay, when is it not okay?"
Now, Brian,
and when they can't answer that, you just keep harp on it.
Now, Brian, what do you do then with the 6-week ban in Florida or the fetal heartbeat bills that have been run in other states? Because that is pre-viability. So what do you do with that? I mean, we have a real world example of Florida enacting a 6-week ban which wouldn't follow your suggestions. Do you think then the GOP is doing something wrong by a 6-week ban? What do you think?
Well, I don't think I think, again, that's the beauty of the decision of the Supreme Court, is it goes back to the states. So if the people in that state don't like that ban, then vote against the people that voted for it. But nationally and locally here in Colorado, the issue becomes for every candidate running against a Democrat, when is it not okay then?
Yeah, I know.
We've
but
already established it is.
But let's
when
pull this
is
back.
it not?
I understand. Let's pull this back though a little bit. You're saying that the best way the GOP can win is to argue viability, but we have states that are not going on viability. Does that hurt that argument? Does it seem disingenuous that if you're recommending that the Republicans argue viability, when you have states that are directly not going after viability, does that erode your potential argument? And that's why I want to see it. I understand what you do in Colorado, but I'm saying as a whole, does it make the Republican Party look disingenuous when they're not willing to, plant the flag where you say on viability? And I say that because I believe that Democrats are completely and totally disingenuous when they are allowing abortions up until the moment right before they're born. I think that is disingenuous when they want to talk about life and they want to talk about the choice of the mother, because post 32 weeks, I think that mother has a lot of choices only if, and I'm taking into consideration that the mother's life and the baby's life haven't been impacted, harmed, or there's no development issue. I think they have choices post 32 weeks. I think the Democrats are being horrible on this one, and they're doing a dumb thing. So I'm curious about your perception of when Republicans get the chance, they're not going after the viability argument, they're going pre-viability. Does that erode what you think is the strongest argument? Your thoughts?
Yeah, first I'll say, Billy, people have a lot of choices pre-32 weeks too. And so nobody's talking about that. So, but you're right. We've the viability thing, I wouldn't harp on that. That viability is determined medically, and it's different in every case. And if states want to do something pre-viability, I would say that's the power of the people. That's what the power of the people, where it should lie, is the power of the people. Pre-viability, post-viability, it should be the power of the people. And then I would come back and say, so when is it not okay, Mr. and Mrs. Democrat?
Okay.
And when they can't answer that, I would just keep harping on it.
Now, here's the thing that I would
so
use, Brian.
You can answer it.
What I would do is I would take your argument about the power of the people and use it against you in that situation and say, but the power of the people in Colorado, they have the ability to say right up until the moment, but right before birth. Are you then happy about the power of the people? Because you said the beautiful thing about being able to go pre-viability is the people get to vote. So would you support the people in Colorado voting all the way up until the moment before birth? As long as the people vote, the power of the people is the correct choice, correct? Is that your conclusion or not?
If the radical Dems want to put that on the ballot, and they want to make a law, if we vote for that, then we get what we deserve. And yeah, and I will support the power of the people. I'm not going to support the law, but but that's what we should be out talking about right now.
Dude,
if you're voting for this, you're voting for a late term abortion. And most Americans are against that.
Now, Brian, again, high five. I appreciate your intellectual consistency, and I appreciate you always chiming in here on the station, because you always have thought these things through. You and I don't have to agree on these, but you always come to the table correct. And I appreciate what you're doing. And one of the advantages I think you have on the viability argument is science. We know that science is making viability earlier and earlier and earlier. I honestly think that the best way to constrict abortion, outside of supporting the families and things like that, but if we're talking about medically, it's based on the science, that we keep pushing viability earlier and earlier, and that line keeps moving closer and closer and closer to conception. That, for me, should be the goal. If I am totally pro-life, I want to get that science as early as possible for viability, because like you, I think that's the best argument. I do think that viability is the best argument, man.
So this is where I disagree with Brian and President Trump.
Billy.
So Brian, thanks for the call. This is a moral truth issue. And
man, we're doing religion again.
And yeah, I know.
I'm just
Welcome
teasing you,
to
man.
your
I'm
co-host.
teasing it, yeah.
And the idea of just leaving it up to votes, There should be for my opinion, there absolutely should be a national abortion ban, and the protection of human life should be solidified in the Constitution. I'm not there. And like fighting the slavery issue, abolitionists had to incrementally move culture to understand that slaves were people created by God and they deserved protection and rights. We, as Christians who believe in the sanctity of life, need to incrementally find ways in culture to win. But at the end of the day, the foundational philosophical issue is that it's a human life and that human life deserves to be protected. All right. Really appreciate the phone call, Brian, Billy. Thanks for that conversation.
That was so much fun.
Phone lines are open. Text line as well. The Dan Caplis Law text line. By the way, great American.
Yes.
Pro-life, pro-family, pro-America.
In fact, here's the reason. Awesome. When things go wrong in your life, you got to give Dan Caplis a call. When you're injured in accidents and things, he's going to come to the table and he's going to make sure that you are put back together. But there's another component to that. There's another component about putting your body back together, and I'm talking about the pain you're living with. It doesn't have to necessarily be because of a car crash or something that happened to you. You can call Dan Caplis and get that help. There could be things that just are wearing down. It could be just doing stupid things in your youth like me, and you're waking up every day in a lot of pain. That's why I want you to talk to a team that I trust, Balance Well Space. This is a medical team that is dedicated to making sure you have a pain-free life. And the difference is integrative medicine. What does that mean? It means at one shop, you get chiropractic care, neuropathic care, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, trigger point injections, and so much more, plus a bunch of non-invasive, cutting-edge therapies that are just mind-boggling to see them actually, how they can improve your life. Now, this is the difference. I have two vertebrae in my back that are fusing together. The pain has been unbelievable at times. There are times I couldn't get out of bed. Every day I'm walking around, it felt like someone had taken one of the Swiss Army knives, the longer blade, and stuffed it in my lower back. That was an everyday occurrence for me. I thought that was my life. I don't have that pain anymore, but better yet, I don't have that restrictive movement. The difference they've made in my life is nothing short of remarkable. As I sit here talking to you, I am literally regenerating the disc in my lower back, and I'm regenerating the meniscus in my left knee while you and I are talking here. That's the kind of difference they can make in your life. And I want you to give them an opportunity. Check them out at balancewellspace.com. Balancewellspace.com. They have a brand new office in Lowry, right across from Hangar 2, plenty of parking. The difference is you have an entire medical staff that is focused on your pain and getting you better. When's the last time all the doctors that you visit sat down and talked about you? They don't. That's what makes Balance Well Space better and different. Every 3 weeks, they will reevaluate your care. They create a custom pain plan based on what hurts you and what you want to do. They do all the tests, and they reevaluate their care every couple of weeks to make sure you're going in the right direction. They've altered my care a couple of times because some things did really well, some things did not. And so we've adjusted, but nobody else is going to do that for you in your current medical team. Save time. Save them effort of driving all around town, and talk to the team that I trust. Dr. Dooley, Dr. Jess, Sarah, B, Christy, the entire group there. Everyone's a specialist, and they specialize in making your pain go away. But they can't make it happen unless you reach out to them. So talk to them today, balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com. I want them to make the same difference in your life they are making in mine. I trust them. You can too. Balancewellspace.com. And do me a favor, tell me you heard about them here on Jeff and Bill.
Great to hear, Bill. We'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Lots of good text messages and phone calls on that issue. Was Kamala Harris wrong when she said, that's not true? Nowhere in America does late-term abortion happen. And thankfully, Students for Life, Isabel Brown, and some other folks proved that wrong. Got Dr. Hearn and Boulder. Now, he's like in his 80s at this point.
Yeah.
He's kind of reaching the end of that tour. And I'm not sure there's a lot of folks that want to do that particular type of abortions.
Yeah.
So
and the fact we don't have a ton of clinics doing it tells you exactly where it is.
That's exactly right. All right. Coming up next, Rocky Mountain gun owners. You don't want to miss this conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 8 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history. We're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, Ian Escalante, the new executive director of Rocky Mountain Gun Owners, is going to be joining us live in studio, taking your phone calls and texts, because there's a ballot initiative coming up here. Allow me to introduce you to Proposition KK. That's going to levy a 6.5% excise tax on firearms and ammunition manufacturing and sales to be imposed on firearms dealers, manufacturers, and ammunition vendors, and appropriating the revenue to the Firearms and Ammunition Excise Tax Cash Fund to be used to fund crime, victim services programs, educational programs, and mental and behavioral health programs for children and veterans. Bottom line, they're going to tax the ammunition makers, which will then pass the tax on to you for simply exercising your Second Amendment rights. So we'll be talking about that with him. Plus, what does he expect to see coming up from this new legislative session? Are we going to see the assault weapons ban return? All that. You're not going to want to miss that conversation. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. It's 53 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 83 today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, Wall Street is opening with stocks sharply higher. This comes after the Fed lowered interest rates for the first time in over 4 years on Wednesday.
The illegal immigration policies that are going on in this nation is getting ready to reshape America like never before. And y'all don't see it because you got a corrupt media that won't tell you the truth.
Pastor Alton Williams is from Memphis, and he knows former President Trump is telling the truth and the mainstream media is not. They downplay everything illegal immigration, and they lie, including what has happened here in Aurora, which, by the way, Trump says he's coming to Aurora in the next few weeks. Here's Pastor Williams on Springfield, Aurora, and culture.
It sounded crazy, but it's true. Yes, it's true. Because people don't understand voodoo culture. Haitians come out of Haiti, which is a strong voodoo culture. And the reason it's going to be a problem, see, they got you thinking race. He just hate them black folk. No, it's about culture. Even the Venezuelan gangs are bringing their culture to our nation, and they are taking over cities right now, and the police can't do nothing with them. So every time anything come up about anything black folk, we always accuse it to be about race. No, it's culture. Voodoo culture requires sacrifice. But in voodoo, you eat the animals that you bring to the sacrifice. This is what the media ain't gonna tell you. I got a Haitian pastor because we helped to build a church over in Haiti, and he has enlightened me on different cultures. Yes, they kill the animals, and then they are taught that if you eat the animal, you will get more power inside of you.
There you go. The former president reminding Kamala Khan last night in New York that we know who she is.
Let me also deliver a message straight to Kamala Harris, the radical left Democrat politicians, and the fake news media. Look how many are there. We've got to get our media back in this country. We've got to get them back. But the message is it's time to stop the lies, stop the hoaxes, stop the smears.
And at least 20 people are dead and hundreds are injured after walkie-talkies exploded in Lebanon on Wednesday, just a day after pagers belonging to Hezbollah terrorists exploded and killed at least a dozen people. Former CIA Director John Brennan tells Today he doesn't believe it's an acceptable form of warfare reportedly acted out by Israel.
There's no way the Israelis would have known who was going to have these pages at the time, which is why we see that there were some children and others who were killed. It's basically almost a fire and forget mechanism that the Israelis engaged in here.
U.S. officials said Israel was responsible for Tuesday's attack, but they have not claimed responsibility. The Lebanese terrorist group has warned that the Jewish state will receive just punishment for what it called sinful aggression. The wildfire in Larimer County continues to burn. As of last night, the blaze remains at 128 acres and 5% containment. The wildfire began burning Monday in the Crystal Lakes area. 320 personnel are assigned to the fire. One structure has sustained damage. Jurors will begin deciding tomorrow if Ahmad Alissa was sane or insane when he gunned down 10 people at the King Soopers in Boulder 3 years ago. Both sides will be in court today to work through jury instructions. A China zoo forced to admit the truth after one of their pandas started panting and barking. A panda. The Shanwei Zoo admits they painted dogs white and black to make them look like pandas. The video is extraordinary. The zoo initially tried claiming that the dogs were a unique breed of pandas called panda dogs. It was later discovered that the pandas were chow chows who were dyed with white and black paint. Who ate the dog? Who ate the cat?
And this is not new. They've done this before with chows and with lions and some other stuff. Yeah, not a new
they
thing.
did with the lions?
Oh yeah, they've done this. This has been 10 years or so. It's been going on in Chinese zoos.
I forgot about that one.
So they cut it to look like a little lion, and they pretended to pass it off as a lion and some other stuff. So not new.
Nice. Well, okay, good. Whatever entertains me, I'm happy on this Thursday. 49 in Parker and 50 in Arvada, 53 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Thursday. Blake Olson News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your 710 5-day forecast. A lot of sunshine today, mostly sunny skies for Friday as well. We'll end the work week with highs in the middle and upper 80s and lows right around the middle and upper 50s. For your weekend, Saturday, highs in the low 70s. Scattered showers developing by the afternoon with areas of heavy rain possible Saturday night and Sunday. Highs Sunday only near 60. Weather brought to you by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or income for life. Get your review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us live in studio is in Escalante. You can see his handsome face if you go to youtube.com 710KNUS or X or any of those or Rumble. You can check us out there. He's joining us live in studio. He's the new executive director of Rocky Mountain Gun Owners. You remember Taylor Rhodes would often join us to give us an update on what's happening on the fight to protect your Second Amendment rights down at the Colorado State Capitol. And there's a lot going on. You've got ballot initiatives that have to do with excise taxes on ammunition makers and firearms dealers. You got the effort to ban trophy hunting, which, it's just, again, ballot box biology and some lib in Boulder and Denver trying to vote on what you as a hunter can do. Come on, give me a break. Plus ranked choice voting. There's a whole lot on your ballot that we're going to talk about. Ian, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
So let's start with the state of Second Amendment rights in Colorado. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, wow. Well, how much time do we have?
We got you, buddy.
So over the last 2 years, going back to the 2022 election, Republicans had arguably the worst turnout in state history. Jared Polis got reelected by almost 20 points. They held all the constitutional offices. I believe that was the first time that they had actually held those constitutional offices for 2 consecutive terms in a long time. There'd always been a couple Republicans that either held the treasurer seat or the Secretary of State. They held all of them. In addition to that, they also ended up winning 46 of the 65 House seats and 23 of the 35 Senate seats. So right now they have a supermajority in the House. First time that Democrats have had a supermajority, I think, since the 30s, since the New Deal era. And they're 1 seat away from a supermajority in the Senate. Now, previously from 2013 to 2022, when we kind of saw power shifting every couple election cycles between Republicans and Democrats, when Democrats had power, when John Hickenlooper was governor, they would, obviously they showed their hostility to the Second Amendment. They passed the 2013 magazine ban, universal gun registry. They repealed the preemption law, and that prompted the city of Superior and Boulder County to ban all semi-automatic firearms and institute a 10-round magazine ban. They passed red flag gun confiscation. They passed some fairly controversial things, but they were spaced apart, and they passed those 4 to 5 measures that I just mentioned over a period of about 9 to 10 years. Almost a decade is what they took to pass all that. Well, the reason why is because they feared the voters. They didn't always have the votes. And also, we didn't see this new swath of radical leftists come in that we saw in 2022.
Yeah, we used to recall lawmakers if they voted against guns. Colorado is a uniquely socially libertarian state, right? So we're on the social issues, abortion, doctor-assisted suicide, pot, all this stuff. It's like, go at it. There's no restrictions on that. And then if you tried to take away someone's gun rights, we used to actually penalize you for it. But that's changed.
It's changed, and the reason why is a lot of people have said, it's Colorado, it's not going to happen here. You see this on the national level too. They say, we'll never have communism in America or the United States. It could never happen here. And there are a lot of people in Colorado that believe, oh no, they're never going to do that. They're never going to get away with it. Well, now that they had the power, they have this new generation of hardcore leftists. I'm talking the likes of Tim Hernandez, talking the likes of Elizabeth Epps, Javier Mabry, Lorena Garcia. I know Epps and Hernandez were kind of the ones that got the big spotlight. But you look at Stephen Woodrow, Javier Mabry, and Lorena Garcia. Those 3 are still in the legislature.
Yes, and Javier Mabry, he's like a Berkeley attorney or Berkeley educated law attorney.
He's a eviction lawyer who passed a bill to give himself more clients, which that's another story for another day.
Classic.
But you have these hardcore radical leftists, some of which are proud to identify themselves as communists. Some of them have completely called for the abolition of the Second Amendment. Lorena Garcia this year said that she believes the Second Amendment shouldn't exist, that it's outdated, and that it's racist, and all this other garbage that this new woke left has come up with. The Democratic Party of the Kennedy era is over, and that's why you're seeing, Robert F. Kennedy moving away from that, radical left wing bent that we're going on. But the thing is, they get all these new people elected. Okay, they have these new majorities, and now what's happening is that the hardcore leftists who had previously been in the chamber are now coming to a point where they have close to a majority in the caucus itself, in the Democratic caucus itself. Previously, that radical faction had always been a minority. They had always been kind of looked at as fringe. Well, now I believe they have almost half the caucus now of people who self-identify as progressive, democratic socialist, or in Tim Hernandez's case, he just says he's a Marxist.
Well, and you used to have some kind of rural Western Democrats too, particularly on the Western slope. I think there might be still one up in Steamboat, that kind of area, that are a little shy on a full automatic weapons ban, but they're now a minority, right?
Unfortunately, that's the case. And we also saw with redistricting as well, some of those seats on the Western slope that used to be very red. I think you had Perry Will on your show recently. Yeah. His seat used to be
fur coat in now.
Yeah,
I wish, but
his seat used to be a 10-point Republican seat. They redistricted him, and he lost to some random Democrat who'd never held office before, who's queer, lesbian, LGBTQ, the whole 9 yards, and she's radically anti-gun. So we're setting the stage. We have all these people come in, and then all of a sudden they say, all right, we have the votes. We have less Democrats who come from the more moderate bent of the party. We're going to go after the guns. They've been wanting to do this for years. Make no mistake, this isn't something that's new. They just didn't really have the stones to do it until they got these big majorities. At least in the House, they were chomping at the bit. The Senate's been a little bit more. They still have a lot of those older, more moderate blue dog Democrats, some of them, but that's changing this year because of term limits. So we see all these people coming in there, new people, hardcore leftists, and they say, all right, we're going after the guns. They have passed more gun control in the 23 and 2024 legislative session than they had from 2013 all the way up to 2022. I mean, we're talking about this new 72-hour waiting period. They repealed the manufacturer liability protections. So now if someone breaks into your house and you legally use your right to self-defense and you shoot them, their family can sue you for damages. They can sue the gun shop that bought where you bought the gun from. They can sue the Glock. They can sue pretty much anyone who had any involvement in that firearm whatsoever can be sued. They also did an expansion of red flag gun confiscation, where now it's not just law enforcement and people involved. I believe there's district attorneys as well that can file this red flag petition. Now pretty much anyone can do it. Your doctor, your pastor, your psychologist. And the worst of all is that your kid's school teacher can now file a red flag petition against you.
Really?
So now if you're a parent and you're saying, I don't really want, inappropriate, explicit sexual material being taught to my kid, or I don't want my kid
retaliation.
To be told that he's I don't want little Johnny to be told that he should be little Jane. The teacher could then go ahead and red flag you. So
wow.
And those are just the ones that passed last year. We get into this year, we have the new gun-free zone expansion bill, which the original bill that they tried to pass, and RMGO put so much pressure on the Senate Judiciary Committee that they actually took this portion out of the bill. The original bill would have banned carry in synagogues, churches, and all places of worship.
Jeez.
So, and I mean, we've seen down in Texas, I think that this happened probably 4 or 5 times now over the last 10 years, some crazed psycho who obtains a firearm, illegally, by the way.
Yeah.
None of these mass shootings, 9 times out of 10, these people are obtaining their firearms illegally. Like the most recent Trump assassin. He's been on the FBI's radar for, I think, 2 or 3 years now. He was not
the guy got an
allowed.
AK-47?
Yeah, he's not legally allowed to possess a firearm, but yet somehow he ends up with an AK-47. So, and that really just goes to show that these gun control laws do not work. I mean, it's absolutely insane. These people are either really dumb or they're malicious and they want to control us.
Can I ask you how the assault weapons ban didn't pass last year? I thought for sure that seemed to come down to like 1 vote or 2 votes in the Senate.
So are you talking about 23 or 24 or both?
Yeah, let's talk both.
Okay.
I mean, I thought it was last year that it came very close.
So it was this past session is when it came the closest.
Right.
This past session actually made it out of the House.
Right.
Last session, we saw there was a lot of chatter that it was going to pass, it wasn't going to pass. I think they scheduled it 3 times before they actually did the assault weapons ban hearing. I believe there were about 1,000 people that showed up to testify that day. It went till, I think, 4 o'clock in the morning, that hearing did. And what ended up happening is that through exhaustion and extreme pressure, we were able to get the House Judiciary Committee to can the bill. They postponed it indefinitely, never made it out of committee, and that was the end of it. Well, what happened this year is that leading into the new session, Speaker Julie McCluskey was under extreme pressure from the radical wing of her caucus. And from what I was hearing is that they were planning on booting her out of the speakership because she wasn't far left enough. She comes from around the Continental Divide area. She represents it's a blue leaning district, but I mean, she's got places like Park County in there, Jackson County, Grand County, like very hardcore Western conservative areas, but that she also has Breckenridge and Dillon and Silverthorne. So it's definitely a lean blue district, but it's not a unwinnable district by any means. So she was kind of walking that line. She didn't want to take a vote on the assault weapons ban last year. Monica Duran didn't want to take a vote last year, but then she came under serious pressure, and pretty much both of those individuals were told that they would lose their leadership spot unless they started getting more radical. So then we fast forward to this year, she completely changed the makeup of the Judiciary Committee. She removed Bob Marshall from Highlands Ranch, who I'm not a huge fan of, but he did vote right on the assault weapons ban. She removed Lindsay Doherty, who was also a no vote on the assault weapons ban.
And by the way, we say assault weapons ban. This thing banned pretty much anything except for a muzzle, a musket.
Yeah,
right?
Literally. I like to call it a full-scale semi-auto ban. That's what it is. It's not an assault. I mean, what is an assault weapon? I mean, I could turn this can of Rain Energy into an assault weapon. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. But she removed all those people and she replaced them with Javier Mabry, Lorena Garcia, Leslie Herod, and a bunch of the absolute radicals, Steve Woodrow. And then she also removed one of the Republicans. She removed Stephanie Luck. So now, previously, it was a 7-4 Democrat-Republican Judiciary Committee. We only needed 2 Democrats to defect, and then we could pretty much block or pass whatever we wanted. Well, now it dropped down to 8-3, and she added some of the most hardcore anti-gun people to the Judiciary Committee. So this year, when it came through, the Judiciary Committee makeup was different. They passed it. There was a lot of rumors about whether it was actually going to make it to a floor vote, because it had never gotten a floor vote before. And some of the Democrats were very, very, very worried about taking a floor vote on this in an election.
Right. Because it could be recorded.
Exactly. Well, it was recorded, and what ended up happening is I think they waited about a month. I actually was out of town whenever I found out. One thing the Democrats love to do is they love to schedule votes like the night before. They see, it's Thursday night. They say, all right, we're doing a vote tomorrow. Have fun. So I ended up, I was trying to take a little bit of a break from the madness. I ended up driving like 9 hours from Jackson Hole, Wyoming, back down to Denver. Yeah,
bro,
straight to the Capitol. And, we tried to push a lot of procedural measures. The other thing that they've been doing since they've gotten this new majority is they've started using Rule 14 and Rule 16 very liberally. Are you familiar with those?
A little bit,
rules?
but tell our listeners.
Sure. So Rule 14 and Rule 16 are pretty much, think of like the nuclear option in the Senate, filibuster proof majority. That's kind of what it is. So what they can do is, it was always very, very frowned upon previously, but now they think they can justify it because they have such a big majority that they have all the votes. So the majority leader can go up and invoke those rules, and with a simple majority vote, she can limit debate or she can kill debate altogether.
So no more filibusters.
So no more filibusters in the House. The Senate, they seem to have a little bit more reverence for the decorum of the chamber, and I haven't seen them use their Rule 9, which is their equivalent of Rule 14 and 16. So we tried to push some procedural stuff. They did use Rule 14 in the assault weapons debate, and then what ended up happening is they passed it on second reading on Friday, and then they decided to come right back in on Sunday to pass it on thirds, when nobody plans on going to the Capitol on a Sunday.
Democrats don't go to church.
No, it's true. It's true. And that's the thing, though. There was several Republican legislators, one in particular who's a pastor, who wasn't able to show up that day because, he has a job to do. He's pastoring a church. So they did the whole song and dance, and we initially thought we had the votes to kill it because there were a good amount of Democrats, some of them from the Western Slopes, some of them from Southern Colorado, from the Pueblo area, that were just saying, absolutely not. We're not doing this. Even one of the Democrats that represents Jeffco told me there's no way I'm voting for this.
Really? Wow.
So
is that Andy Kerr?
No.
Okay.
He's on commission.
Yeah. Okay, that's right.
Yeah. So we ended up I was thinking, okay, we have the votes. Well, we're about to take the vote, and Monica Duran, the majority leader, comes up and goes, I was going to vote against this. Mind you, she owns ARs. She stockpiles firearms.
Monica Duran
Yeah,
does.
she carries. Oh, yeah, she's very open about the fact that she carries in the Capitol. And
good for her.
She admitted that she owns a couple ARs herself. And then she said, well, I'm switching my vote and I'm voting yes on the assault weapons ban. So it was her and it was Chad Clifford from House District 37, who actually, this was probably one of the most insane things that happened this session. He has two of the biggest gun shops in the Denver metro area in his district. No, he doesn't own them.
Oh, okay. They're in his district.
In his district.
Okay.
He owns two of the biggest he represents two of the largest gun shops in the Denver metro area. He's law enforcement. So both of those gun shop owners called him and said, hey, you're voting against this, right? He said, oh, absolutely. Well, when the time came, he went back on his word and voted for it. And it was him, it was Duran, and it was the speaker, McCluskey, that got the assault weapons ban over the finish line. It only passed by 3 votes.
In the House.
In the House.
And then who killed it in the Senate?
So it crosses over to the Senate, and they sat on it as long as they possibly could. I mean, as long as they possibly could, because they wanted nothing to do with this. There's a lot more, I wouldn't necessarily say moderates, but there's definitely more cowards in the Senate. They really want, they don't like to rock the boat that much. They like to sit back and say, oh, we're senators, look at us, we're cool. And what ended up happening is we put an insane amount of pressure. I mean, we were sending mail, we were delivering petitions. We absolutely beat the brakes off of any representative who was in a competitive district in the House. We were hitting them with mail. We were hitting them with patch through calls. I think we did about 11,000 patch through calls this past session. We spent about $250,000 over the session trying to stop the assault weapons ban. And I mean, that was anything from mail, phones. I think we sent about 30,000 text messages. We sent emails. I mean, we pulled out all the stops. We were doing legislative briefings across the state. I remember there was one time in one weekend, we went from Denver to Pueblo, all the way over to Durango, and then all the way back in one sweep, because we were just talking to our members. We were getting people fired up. We were making sure that they were getting out. They were calling their representatives. So what ended up happening is we had heard different things. We weren't sure what was going to happen. So I started texting James Coleman, the committee chairman of the committee that the bill was assigned to. Mm-hmm. And I was like, when are we getting a vote? When are we getting a vote? When are we getting a vote? He just kept pushing it off. He didn't want to talk about it. And then finally he said, okay, we're going to get a vote tomorrow. And it was the last day of session. I'm like, this isn't going to pass.
Yeah.
Well, then Julie Gonzalez, who initially there was no sponsor for the assault weapons ban in the Senate until about a week after it passed out of the House. Then we got a sponsor. And she ended up on the last or the day before the last day of session. She came out, went to the media, said, I'm pulling my own bill. I want to talk about this outside of the pressure cooker of the Capitol. Pretty much the pressure was too much for her. She decided to withdraw her own bill. So it was unanimously postponed indefinitely in the Senate State Affairs Committee. Wow. So that's how that bill ended this year. And the Senate also let another really egregious bill, the liability insurance mandate bill, die on the calendar because they had also gotten an insane amount of pressure over that as well. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That is wild. When we come back, I want to get into what you anticipate seeing this legislative session and the work that Rocky Mountain Gun Owners is doing in the election. They've got a super PAC. They're going to be fighting some of these ballot initiatives. We'll hear more about that from Ian Escalante, the executive director of Rocky Mountain Gun Owners, coming up. I want to talk to you first about my good friend Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Are you a homeowner who's considering selling your home? Well, let Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team use their database of over 14,700 ready buyers to get your home sold for top dollar. Many real estate agents make promises, but very few have the proof to back it up. The Empower Home team has review after review from families they have served that back up what they say. They net their sellers, listen to this, 6.1% more money on average, getting their sellers $30,500 more in their pocket. No matter who wins the election, no matter what kind of market we're in, the Empower Home team brings both the experience and track record to help you navigate your home sale and get you top dollar. If your home doesn't sell, Gay Ribble will buy it. That's her guarantee to you. Reach out to my friends and realtors, Gay Ribble, and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams. Call 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
What if this sound actually made you smile, giving you a chance to win gas and groceries for a year? It's the $13,000 gas and grocery giveaway. The grand prize winner gets $10,000 in gas and grocery gift cards. 2 first prize winners get $1,000 in gift cards. And 2 second prize winners get $500 in gift cards.
Presented by Branch Planning. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. The $13,000 gas and groceries giveaway. Enter today at 710knus.com.
What?
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us live in studio is his handsome face on Rumble, YouTube, or X. Give us us on any of your platforms. It's Ian Escalante. He's the executive director of Rocky Mountain Gun Owners, and you may know that name. Remember Dudley Brown? You remember Taylor Rhodes? Well, now Ian is the man captaining that ship for Rocky Mountain Gun Owners. Dudley's still around with the national organization, right? And Taylor as well, right?
Yes. So Taylor actually moved on to do he's communications director now for the national organization. So
great.
He's working hard. He's fighting the commies on the national level. They said, you know what? You're too good for Colorado now. We got to make you go nationwide.
Yeah, the talent moves on.
Absolutely.
But I mean, Ian, very impressive, especially your grasp of what happens down there at the state capitol. You were, prior to this, were you the chief lobbyist?
So yeah, I was the director of operations prior to this. So I came in and I was the chief lobbyist, and I also I ran the super PAC. So I ran all of our primary program and stuff like that. And some of your listeners might not be too happy about some of the mailers we sent in the primary, but you know what? You can't make everyone happy.
It happens during the primaries, and then we move on to fight the real problem, which are the radical leftists. I want to dive into what you're going to be doing in this upcoming election. You've got a number of ballot initiatives you all are going to be speaking into, those issues, as well as maybe some candidates as well you'd be supporting. So talk about that.
Absolutely. So this past year, talked a little bit about the assault weapons ban, but the Democrats really, really tried to put the nail in the coffin of the Second Amendment. I called the 10 bills that they ran through this year the Second Amendment extinction package of 2024, because realistically, had all of these bills passed, I mean, we wouldn't have gun shops anymore. That assault weapons ban would have banned every single semi-automatic firearm. It wouldn't have just banned your scary, what people normally refer to as weapons of war, even though they're not. It wouldn't have banned the scary.
Tim Walz's personal weapons of war that he's carrying around. Right?
Yeah, of course. But it wouldn't have just banned AKs and ARs. I mean, we're talking about the Glock 17 would have been banned. My everyday carry, the Glock 47, would have been banned. The SIG P365 Rose that's specifically made for women to be able to learn how to shoot because they have a compensator on it to try to lower the recoil on the firearm, that would have been banned. So it would have banned every semi-automatic. I mean, when I was talking to people, I always said, the assault weapons ban passes. The only thing you'll be able to buy at a gun shop is a water pistol and a rubber band gun. And that's actually 100% true. Maybe the occasional pea shooter, but that might be semi-auto, so it might be banned too. But in addition,
in a Western state.
Exactly. 100%. It's absolutely insane. So the thing is, we did kill the most egregious ones. We killed their assault weapons ban. We killed their liability insurance mandate. One of the bills that they put through was so sick that the Democrats wouldn't even go for this. Their own party refused to let this bill go out of committee, and it would have gotten rid of armed guards at schools. And that bill never even made it out of committee.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So the Democrats will probably try to bring that back. So are you motivated to get out there and inform voters on what could happen to their Second Amendment rights in the next few months?
Absolutely. Because here's the thing. And I'm sure you remember in 2014, after they passed the magazine ban, you'd actually mentioned it a little bit earlier. People got recalled. The Senate president got recalled. Another senator got recalled. And another senator was so scared off by the recall, Evie Hudak, she just up and resigned.
Right. I remember that. Good old days.
Republicans took the Senate for 4 years. And for the most part, the Democrats didn't really touch the gun issue because they went, oh, wow, this is really not a winning issue for us. Well, the thing is people got complacent. People fell asleep. There's been some demographic changes here. And now the Democrats no longer fear the electorate when it comes to the gun issue. And what I've been telling my members and what I've been telling voters, every person I come in contact with, is that this is a test. 2024 was a test. They would have never in a million years, 10 years ago, there's no way they would have tried to pass the measures they passed this year with the gun-free zone expansion, forcing CBI to go around and enforce the magazine ban, this new state permitting for gun shops, which is absolutely ridiculous, where now the Department of Revenue is going to be regulating gun shops the same way they regulate marijuana dispensaries, where everyone's going to have to take a course. There's going to be warrantless searches and seizures. And I remember when I was testifying in committee, Chris Degree Kennedy, he asked me, he said, why do you have a problem with gun shops being regulated the same as marijuana and alcohol? And I said, it's very simple. The Constitution doesn't say the right to smoke reefer shall not be infringed. The Constitution doesn't say the right to drink alcohol shall not be infringed. It says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Very simple, very straightforward. So don't try to equate owning a firearm, one of the most fundamental rights in America, in our country. We're the only country in the world that views a firearm ownership as a sacred God-given right. Do not equate that with someone's ability to go out and smoke reefer without getting arrested.
So let's talk about the 3 ballot initiatives that y'all are going to be speaking into. Sure. The one most clearly a threat to the Second Amendment, in addition to obviously the hunting one, I want to get to that in a second, but the levy, a 6.5% excise tax on firearms and ammunition manufacturing and sales, to be imposed on firearm dealers, manufacturers, and ammunition vendors, and appropriating the revenue to the firearms and ammunition excise tax cash fund. This is like essentially levying an excise tax on your ability to publish freely or speak freely. That would be a First Amendment right. In this case, it's your Second Amendment right. They want to levy this excise tax.
It's ridiculous. And right now, what I want to say is thank God for Tabor, because if we didn't have Tabor, they would have passed this in the legislative session and we wouldn't even have been able to have a say in this. The only reason why this is going before the people is because of the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. And that's why the people, the radical leftists in the General Assembly, hate Tabor so much. So defend Tabor at all costs. That is very, very important. The thing here is they want to go ahead. They literally want to tax your right to self-defense. Because of the Bruin decision, Supreme Court has ruled that you can't just outright ban firearms. You have to stick with the text, history, and tradition of the Second Amendment. Well, they said we can't ban them, but we can price people out of them, and we can make it so difficult to open a gun shop that nobody does, or they relocate to a different state. So this excise tax is all about trying to punish gun owners, trying to disincentivize individuals from buying firearms. Monica Duran and Lisa Cutter and the people who are pushing this guns and ammo tax would try to have you think that this is about, their whole argument is the domestic violence shelters have run out of money and we don't have money because we're broke and we're stupid and we spent all of it on
illegal immigrants.
On illegal immigrants, or on this radical new climate initiative that they're trying to push through, or building more bus lines in rural communities. I mean, absolutely asinine things. We don't have any money, so now, we got to raise the money somehow. Let's go ahead and do a guns and ammo tax. And they're going to try to have you believe, if you oppose this tax, you hate women, you believe women should get beaten and abused, and you're just an overall terrible person. Here's the fact of the matter. If they really, really wanted to fund these shelters, they would. You look at the long bill. You look at all the crazy, wasteful things that they spent money on this year. If they really, really wanted to fund these shelters, they would have, and they could have. But now what they're doing, and this is what the most disgraceful thing of it all is that they are holding these shelters and these organizations, which I'm sure do very, very good things. I'm not saying that I don't like these shelters. I'm not saying that they're bad. What I am saying is that they're holding these hostage, saying, if you don't tax guns and ammo and you don't punish gun owners, which also Monica Duran has said that gun owners are the reason why domestic violence happens, which is really interesting because she's a gun owner. So I'm not really sure what she's trying to accomplish there, but she pretty much said, gun violence and domestic violence are absolutely 100% linked. And they're trying to make it out that if you don't support this guns and ammo tax, then you're a horrible person. Well, here's the deal. The fact that they would hold these resources hostage for these organizations to try to guilt people into taxing their own right to self-defense, I think is incredibly disgraceful. It's manipulative, it's gaslighting, and it's something that people need to understand is a flat out lie. These people do not care about these shelters. All they're doing is they're holding the funding hostage so that they can go ahead and infringe on your right to self-defense more.
Wow. Ian Escalante joins us. He's the executive director of Rocky Mountain Gun Owners. He's in studio with us. We'll continue with him. I want to talk to you about my good friends over at QC Kinetics. Look, pain from arthritis is just awful. Bone on bone, constant pain. It robs you of so much of the stuff you love to do. But there are effective ways to deal with that pain. And I'm not talking about drugs or surgery. Listen, there's an exciting new cellular therapy that can get you lasting relief. And the place to go, QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. Look, if you're living with chronic pain from arthritis or injury, you need to know that steroids and surgery and pain pills are no longer your only options. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief. Best of all, no downtime. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back with regenerative, restorative cellular treatments for your achy joints. This is the future of medicine. Call for your free consultation now, 303-900-8986, 303-900-8986 with locations in Aurora, Superior, Colorado Springs, and Highlands Ranch. We'll continue with Rocky Mountain Gun Owners. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us live in studio, Ian Escalante, the Executive Director of Rocky Mount Gun Owners. Ian, first of all, if people want to be involved with RMGO, Rocky Mountain Gun Owners, you can go to rmgo.org. That's rmgo.org. Join there, become a supporter. You can get cool apparel, and you can see their official endorsements there. Let's talk about these legislative races real quickly. You guys are going to be playing in those as well.
Absolutely. So, like I told you earlier, one of the big things that happened in 2022 is the Democrats won all of the competitive seats. There's about 12 seats that would be statistically considered competitive, meaning that they're anywhere from an R+4 to a D+4. And everywhere in between, they won all of those seats. So we're getting involved in those races. We're going to take back those seats. Multiple people in those seats. I'm thinking of Stephanie Vigil down in House District 16, Jennifer Parenti, who actually resigned because I think she knew she couldn't win re-election with how radical she was. Tammy Story in House District 25. They all voted for the assault weapons ban, and they're in highly competitive districts. And the thing is it is incredibly important that they get punished for their bad behavior, because we had 9 Democrats vote against the assault weapons ban. Some were in competitive districts. Some were in semi-competitive. They voted against it. 9 Democrats voted against it. Yes. They broke with their party. They voted against it because they were afraid of their reelection chances. Well, the thing is, if these people who were in competitive districts and voted for the assault weapons ban get reelected, it's going to send a message that they can vote to completely abolish the Second Amendment and get away with it. So that's why we're getting involved in the election. Go to rmgo.org. Help us kick out the gun grabbers this year.
RMGO, Rocky Mountain Gun Owners, they don't negotiate. They stand strong for that Second Amendment right. Ian Escalante, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show. We'll continue. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
What if this sound actually made you smile, giving you a chance to win gas and groceries for a year? It's the $13,000 gas and grocery giveaway. The grand prize winner gets $10,000 in gas and grocery gift cards. 2 first prize winners get $1,000 in gift cards. And 2 second prize winners get $500 in gift cards.
Presented by Branch Planning. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. The $13,000 gas and groceries giveaway. Enter today at 710knus.com.
9 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on this Thursday, September 19th, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Billy and I were talking about the fact that the astronauts in the space station aren't coming home in time. But do you know who they listen to?
Who they
on
listen
the
to?
radio.
Oh, yeah, they can listen to me.
You gotta tell people about that.
Yeah. My other job that I work with Westwood One, part of my broadcasting day, when I'm doing the music side of it, I am featured on the Armed Forces Radio Network, which puts me on 1,000 military installations around the planet and also off planet. The astronauts that are stuck in the International Space Station can listen to me as well. I'm beamed into space, which I know most of you
keeping them
entertained,
keeping them going.
And I
Yeah.
know some of our listeners like to ship me into space on a daily basis. So believe me, I'm already there. And we were just noticing they're having the conversation on the Fox and Friends about the astronauts being able to vote in space. And like, wait a minute. Aren't you the people that want everybody to vote in person? How come we're doing mail-in ballots for the astronauts? How come this works?
I think that would technically qualify as an absentee ballot.
I think you're
Maybe
right, my
not.
friend. Yeah. I think you're right. I think
mail-in
that's
ballot.
fantastic.
But still, how do you do it? Are you gonna just?
I know.
How do you do it secretly?
Yeah.
And then do you just put it in like a little rocket and shoot it back down onto the earth, and
Is
they
there
get it that way?
Some sort of huge pneumatic tube we're doing, I guess. I have no idea. It's so weird. But yeah, hopefully they're listening to me, and spending some time up there. But it's really weird. There are times I've actually had some friends where we can track where the National Space Station is, and you can go outside and go,
oh yeah,
they can listen to me right up there, and you can see it go across in the sky. It's a really weird experience, but kind of cool.
Have you ever heard from an astronaut?
No, have not, but I've heard from people on other military bases and reaching out. People from, Korea, in Germany, and Italy, stuff like that. And so
That is
doing
so
different
cool,
things.
man.
Yeah, it is kind of cool. And when you get advertising reads for, places like I was doing some a couple months ago for stuff in South Korea, I'm like, okay, I'll read the advertisements.
Kimchi.
Why not? Yeah, it was
Bill Thorpe's approved kimchi.
Yeah. I was like, why are we doing this? Why do you need this English voice? But it's because they're basically broadcasting and they want to advertise to the soldiers, that are on and off base. In fact, odd thing right now that I'm reading a PSA in South Korea, it's people are trying to gain access, like phishing emails, to military phones and trying to get access to the military computer systems. And what they're doing is when our service men and women are off base, they're giving them illegal parking fines and other sorts of tickets. On the ticket, it has a QR code. And if you don't know how the ticket process works in South Korea, you never get a QR code. You never get to go to a website and pay something like that. It doesn't happen. So what they're doing is they're getting you to scan the QR code. Then you get to the website, and the website plants malware on your phone. And then they can get access to your contacts, your emails, and try to get into the base systems. So I'm reading this PSA about, actual illegal parking tickets are always going to be mailed to your APO address. And so, yeah. and the best part about it is the read starts off with, unknown actors in South Korea are placing parking tickets on cars trying to get you to scan a QR.
Actors.
I know,
Yeah, we know it's North
unknown
Korea.
actors. It is, I know, but I have to start with unknown actors.
By the way, this headline from the Babylon Bee crushed me yesterday.
Oh,
was
what is it? Tell
So
me.
funny.
I love the
And
Bee.
it has to do with not buying things. So as you're saying, don't fall for the things.
Yeah.
Hezbollah is starting to think they shouldn't have gotten pagers from Levi Goldbromstein's Pager Emporium.
But the price was so good.
And they got an Orthodox Jew standing outside Levi Goldbromstein's Pager Emporium.
Our prices are crazy.
The special Hezbollah deal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh
2 for
my
1
gosh.
boom inside. Yes, I know.
I went with my Jewish friends. We went down, ate at the East Side Deli
nice.
down in
Yeah.
Denver, and had a nice kosher meal. It was great.
Yeah.
Very good food. But man, the conversation yesterday about the
bet.
pagers.
I bet. And the thing about the walkie-talkies that blew up yesterday
Yes.
as well, and they're saying, I was reading some stuff saying they didn't have as much of an impact as the first day because some of the Hezbollah people are like, no touching the electronics. And they had left their walkie-talkies and stuff at home going, if this thing exploded, maybe I don't take the other stuff with me. So
all of a sudden they
yeah.
become Amish.
I know exactly.
What is happening
it's
to
gonna be
this world?
interesting.
All right, coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, Yasmin Navarro is going to join us. She's a candidate for State Board of Education in Congressional District 8. That's how we divide up our state board members of the education here by congressional district. And she was going to give us her vision on improving education in the state of Colorado. You're not going to want to miss that. And then we're going to get into the story that the Teamsters won't endorse Harris. Now, they're not necessarily endorsing Trump either, but that's a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
For Kamala Harris and the polling inside the Teamsters and the division. We talked about this. I said
that was
that I
shocking.
think that the leaders of the Teamsters are still all in the Democrat Party, but I don't think the actual members are. And the polling shows that.
Yeah.
So,
and the idea of the unintended consequences of do you understand what you were voting for? It's remarkable what the Teamsters are choosing in this one. And I'm like, wow, that's an interesting choice, but you do you. Let's see if you get your feet shot off. Let's see what happens. Yeah.
So we'll cover that in this hour as well. So great hour. You're not going to want to miss it. Let's check in on news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 60 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 83 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, big news for our great listeners.
The AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act passed out of the House Energy and Commerce Committee on Wednesday by a bipartisan vote. The act now goes to the full House to be scheduled for debate. Supporters say keeping AM radio in cars is vital, not just for news and entertainment, but for safety information in the event of emergencies that happen pretty much every year, like evacuations because of hurricanes. Auto manufacturers have increasingly been eliminating AM from late model vehicle dashboards. I'm Michael Kastner.
Election day is 47 days away as candidates hit the campaign trail. Former President Trump attending an event on fighting anti-Semitism before he gives remarks at the Israeli-American Council's National Summit in D.C. Trump says he'll visit Aurora in the next few weeks.
Let me also deliver a message straight to Kamala Harris, the radical left Democrat politicians, and the fake news media. Look how many are there. We've got to get our media back in this country. We've got to get them back. But the message is it's time to stop the lies, stop the hoaxes, stop the smears.
Kamala Khan will speak during a live streaming rally in Detroit with Oprah today, and the first words out of her mouth will be, "So I grew up in the middle class. Sean Puffy, Daddy Diddy, whatever Combs will remain behind bars as he awaits his trial for sex trafficking and racketeering charges. The judge sided with prosecutors saying he is dangerous and that the bail proposal doesn't calm flight risk concerns. Bomb threats over claims about illegal immigrants are still being received by businesses in Springfield, Ohio. Local police on Wednesday evacuated 2 Walmart stores and 2 Kroger locations. The bomb threat claims have been denied by Ohio Governor Mike DeWine and other local officials. At least 20 people are dead and hundreds are injured after walkie-talkies exploded in Lebanon on Wednesday, just a day after pagers belonging to Hezbollah terrorists exploded and killed at least a dozen people. Former CIA Director John Brennan tells Today he doesn't believe it is an acceptable form of warfare reportedly acted out by Israel.
There's no way the Israelis would have known who was going to have these pages at the time, which is why we see that there were some children and others who were killed. It's basically almost a fire and forget mechanism that the Israelis engaged in here.
U.S. officials said Israel was responsible for Tuesday's attack, but they have not claimed responsibility. The Lebanese terrorist group has warned that the Jewish state will receive just punishment for what it called sinful aggression. The wildfire in Larimer County remains at 128 acres and 5% containment. The wildfire began burning, of course, on Monday in the Crystal Lakes area. 320 personnel are assigned to the fire. One structure has sustained damage. Jurors begin deciding tomorrow if Ahmad Alissa was sane or insane when he gunned down 10 people at the King Soopers in Boulder 3 years ago. Both sides will be in court today to work through jury instructions. Here are a few ways to destroy a country: open the borders, destroy the culture, grow the welfare state, and weaken the military from within. Great example, retired General Stephen Anderson.
Kamala Harris would be just the opposite. Why? Because she's an inspiration. Not only is she positive, does she bring hope and optimism, but as a Black woman, the product of a mixed marriage, she will inspire millions of people throughout the world. Our credibility as a nation, that we would be able to allow, our country is so great that we're allowed a woman like that to become the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States. That is going to send a powerful message all over the world. People like Vladimir Putin are going to say, hey, wait a minute. These guys, they truly have a democratic country. They truly are representative. They truly are fighting for all their people. And Kamala Harris is a manifestation of that.
Wow. He is.
What do you think he means by a woman like that?
Yeah, I don't know what that means. We need to investigate that. Woman like that. Wait a minute.
A woman like that.
Woman like, you mean a woman that will do and say whatever the deep state wants her to say?
I mean,
what is that? Yeah. No, I mean, a woman like that. Can you imagine if Trump said that? A woman like that. Wow. That's just great. Man, he is a nightmare walking. That is right there. That soundbite tells you everything you need to know with what's going on. 57 in Littleton, 58 in Broomfield, 60 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. It's Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your 710 5-day forecast, a lot of sunshine today, mostly sunny skies for Friday as well. We'll end the work week with highs in the middle and upper 80s and lows right around the middle and upper 50s. For your weekend, Saturday, highs in the low 70s. Scattered showers developing by the afternoon with areas of heavy rain possible Saturday night and Sunday. High Sunday only near 60. Weather brought to you by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or income for life. Get your review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Joining us on the Zoom is Yasmin Navarro. She's a candidate for State Board of Education in District 8. That's the same district as Gabe Evans is running in. Yasmin, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the time.
So let's talk issues. And I've got a little bit of an echo.
Yeah,
do you hear that, Billy?
Yeah, I don't know how. Okay, I'll have to see what I can do on that one.
Let's talk your issues. And I'm just going to let you talk because I get a little bit of echo here, Yasmin. But tell us your vision for the State Board of Education.
I believe my vision is very simple. Taking politics out of the classroom, getting back to real academics, setting the bar high, empowering our teachers, have them get better support, continue to include parents in the conversations. I'm very pro parental rights. As a parent myself, I think that's super, super important. And, school of choice, it's so important for us to have different choices because children and learning is not cookie cutter. So we definitely need choices available to families and students to be able to succeed in education.
Who's currently holding your seat?
This person's name is Rhonda Solis.
Oh, I'm sorry, Yasmin. With the echo there, let's have you finish this conversation. I don't like the echo you're getting off of Jeff's microphone, and I think what we'll have to do is let's talk off air and see if we can reschedule this, because this conversation is going to be so stilted, and it's not good for you to have to deal with this technical issue in your ear. So please continue this answer, and then we will wrap up. I'm so sorry that we have to cut it short today, but you and I will talk off air, and then we'll go from there, and we'll reschedule and have you back as soon as we can next week.
Okay, that's fine.
Yasmin Navarro, if you want to learn more about her, go to yasminforcolorado.com. Yasminforcolorado.com. That's spelled YAZMIN for Colorado.com. Will Trachman is going to be joining us in studio from Mountain States Legal Foundation. We'll learn more about him in just a second. I want to talk to you about advanced hair. For many of us, it's happening. Your hair is thinning, your crown's disappearing, maybe hair loss has you feeling your identity is lost altogether. Well, I've got good news for you. It's an incredible yet simple one-day treatment that starts growing your own natural hair the very next day, and it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's the Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. We've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They help retain what you have. But what if what you want is your own natural hair permanently in specific areas? From Advanced Hair state-of-the-art facilities to world-class Dr. Tanya Pauls, it's not maybe will your hair regrow. It's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. That's why Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. Advancedhair.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us live in studio. I adore this guy. I am so impressed with him. He should be a judge. I wish he was a judge. William Trachman, General Counsel for Mountain States Legal Foundation. Someday we'll get him all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. He is that smart. He could serve in that position. Mountain State's doing absolutely fantastic work defending your constitutional rights here in Colorado and represent really the West and the nation. Great organization. You can learn more about them by going to mslegal.org, mslegal.org. So you guys made quite an announcement.
Yeah.
Protecting the president is no job for DEI. Did the Secret Service discriminate against you just because you're a man? We want to hear from you. The Mountain States Legal Foundation is seeking to challenge the illegal and dangerous discriminatory hiring practices at the Secret Service. Tell us more about this, Will.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me. And also thanks for saying I would make a good judge. You know, I'm very judgy, so it's always a nice compliment to hear.
You love the Constitution and you're an originalist. So
absolutely. So Mountain States Legal Foundation, we were founded in 1977. We practice in private property rights, First Amendment, Second Amendment, and then in this area, equal protection. And so here, thank you for having me on Between Assassination Attempts, where we are seriously seeing some slack in the system with the Secret Service. And Butler, Pennsylvania demonstrated that it's not obvious that we have the best and brightest on the job, just to be honest. And despite what people have said about the Secret Service getting it done, at least in the saving the president in Butler, we think that there are probably gaps in the system. And we've seen the comments from former director Kim Cheadle saying she wanted 30% female agents. And we think that there are discriminatory hiring standards, promotion standards, and training standards for Secret Service agents. And we're investigating now and looking to bring a lawsuit.
So in your investigations, you can like FOIA, right? You can dive in that way, but you might need somebody to step forward as well.
Yeah, so FOIA is the Freedom of Information Act. You can submit a request for emails or documents, and if you don't get them, you can bring a lawsuit. But ultimately, that's a lawsuit about information. This is a lawsuit about doing things differently. So if they are hiring or promoting based on sex, we can sue them under federal civil rights laws. In 1964, the government passed the Civil Rights Act. Even private employers can't discriminate based on sex, but especially the government can't discriminate based on sex. Here you had the director of the Secret Service saying, I want to get to 30% female agents. Female agents are great. We have nothing against female agents. It's just that you want the best person for the job.
Right. How? It's like with pilots and doctors too. You're like, I don't care what your chromosomes are. I don't care about the melatonin in your skin. I just want the best. Please, this is really important to me. I want the plane to land. I want the surgery to be okay. And I want my elected officials to be protected. That's it. Bottom line. I don't care about race. I don't care about gender. Just get that right.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, the most elite forces in the United States, like the Green Berets, right, or the Navy SEALs, here it's the Secret Service, right? They have a job to protect democracy. Yeah. For all the talk about the threats to democracy, this is a legitimate threat to democracy. If President Trump had been killed, God forbid, in Butler, Pennsylvania, it would have been chaos in the country. It's a leading presidential candidate. And these are the people who are willing to take a bullet for the president or presidential candidate, and they weren't up to the job. There was one who was ducking behind President Trump. There were a couple who couldn't holster their weapons. And
I'll use you as the shield.
I mean, it was absurd to see the photos from Butler.
Yeah.
I mean, to say nothing of the Florida incident that just happened last week. Obviously, people are out looking to make a difference, to hurt President Trump and to make a difference in this election in a bad way. And the Secret Service needs to be at the top of their game, not concerned about metrics or gender or anything besides the quality of their agents.
Well, and what you're saying is that we don't want those to be ignored on the other side either. So like, we're not going to deny you a job just because you're a woman or because you're a particular race. We want to protect those fundamental rights protected in the Civil Rights Act. But it seems to be now, instead of being a shield to protect people, it's being a sword to kind of go after and keep men from being able to pursue those types of job opportunities, right?
Yeah, and so far in our investigation, we're definitely hearing rumors that the Secret Service was getting close to their 30% figure. And so they were starting to put the hammer down on male agents, maybe male agents who wanted to reactivate with the presidential election coming up. But because the numbers were as they were reluctant to hire more male agents or bring back male agents who had been on duty and then might want to come back for the presidential cycle. So there definitely is an effect. If you create a goal of 30% and you're at 29% and you're deciding between a male or a female, there is going to be this impulse to say, well, let's meet our goal and let's discriminate. Let's use let's use gender or sex as a factor here. And that's awful. I mean, just in any employment situation, it's a terrible situation to use sex as a factor. Here, where you need the best of the best, it doesn't make any sense to bring on people based on their sex.
Well, this is the woke mind virus, right? It elevates the wrong thing and diminishes the right thing. So in this case, the right thing is your ability to do the job. Right? That's it. That's what we want. Your ability to do the job. We're going to diminish that, and we're going to elevate things that have nothing to do with your ability to do the job, but that meet arbitrary metrics, like 30%. Okay. Well, why not 32%? Why not 28%? Why do we settle at 30%? Seems like an arbitrary metric to try to reach. And yet now you're going to orient your hiring practices to reach an arbitrary.
That's exactly right. And I think this instinct on the left is to say diversity makes us all stronger, but strength makes us all stronger, right? With talent makes us all stronger. It isn't as though you just achieve some magical percentage number, as you're saying, and then all of a sudden you've achieved strength or the diversity that you need. You really just want to look for merit. And so sometimes there are going to be situations where maybe if a female agent needs to clear a women's bathroom, obviously you're going to need a woman for that. But in other situations, you really don't need to care at all about sex. You only want to care about who can protect the president on every day of the week, and holster their gun appropriately and block the president if they have to take a bullet for them. These people are literally protecting democracy day in and day out. And if you don't have the best on the job, you're courting danger. Eventually, there's going to be a situation, God forbid, something's going to happen and you're not going to have the best people on the job. And that's why we need, as Mountain States Legal Foundation, both to finish the investigation and then bring a lawsuit when we discover.
So who are you looking for?
We are looking for a man of any race to come to us and say, look, I was denied a job, or I was denied a promotion, or they didn't retain me because of my sex. They were too concerned about metrics when it comes to sex or gender. And so I suffered because of that. We just want to make sure that we find the right person to bring that lawsuit to go forward without regard to sex. We want the Secret Service to have a purely merit-based hiring program. And so if we can find the right plaintiff to bring the case, we're looking forward to suing the Secret Service as soon as we can. Even if President Trump wins, honestly, it's very important that this just be something that happens regardless of who's in power in DC, that the Secret Service not take sex into account in hiring.
How do people contact Mountain States Legal Foundation?
So we're at mslegal.org. You can also follow us on X. It's the pinned tweet at the top of our X account. We also just recently announced a partnership with the Independent Women's Forum last week, who are also concerned that this denigrates women by saying if we're going to lower the standards for hiring women, that doesn't speak well of employers who will want to lower standards for women generally. So they have a submit page as well on their website. But if you are interested in sending anyone that you know, our website is mslegal.org. And we're happy to review everyone's potential claims on that score.
Only the best and qualified should be hired, retained, or promoted, no matter if you are male or female. If you applied for the Secret Service and believe you've been treated unfairly due to sex, Mountain States Legal Foundation wants to hear from you. They are preparing a lawsuit to fight sex discrimination within the agency. Now, here's the hard thing about the assassination attempts is that they're symptomatic. Right. So when you reach that point where you have the assassination attempt that took place in Butler, or the more recent one down in Florida, it's like the sneeze of a body that's going through the cold. The actual problem is the cold itself. You're just seeing a symptom of their inability to protect. So now you got to go dive deep and see what the real problems are with the Secret Service. So it seems like, and I don't know, I haven't seen the report. There's no report that's come out yet on even the Butler situation, but it seems like there's systemic problems within the Secret Service.
I think that's right. And you're right to identify the culture behind the problem, which is that the rhetoric of the left obviously is getting to some of their supporters. So the most recent guy who was supporting Kamala Harris for president and cared a lot about Ukraine to the point where he was actually fighting in Ukraine. Clearly, he saw the rhetoric of the left and bought into it and thought, well, there is a good reason to go to Florida and try to stop this person from becoming president again. And that rhetoric from the left just needs to be toned down more broadly. But if they're not going to do that, and it doesn't look like they are, we can at least have adequate protection for the president or the presidential candidates.
Have you ever been around Secret Service before?
Well, I've been around them because I was in the Trump administration. And so when either Vice President Pence or President Trump is around, even when they're at the congressional baseball game, there's quite a bit of Secret Service.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I've been around. So I worked for Governor Romney, and then I hosted Donald Trump. I will tell you, the level of Secret Service protection Trump has is totally different than Mitt Romney's. Mitt Romney's, guys in suits. They look like Mitt Romney, essentially. A nice clean haircut, suits, all that stuff. Trump had fully armed out, long guns, camo, ballistic vests, Secret Service. I mean, it was a different level for him.
But still not as much as Harris has, right? Because she's the sitting VP. And so luckily they found this guy one golf course hole ahead of where President Trump was. But if they had the Biden Harris level of security, he never would have gotten that far because he wouldn't have been able to get to the perimeter there.
Here's something I'm wrestling with. And I'm going to put this out there. You get your response on it. So in American history, we've had presidents assassinated. It's happened, right? You had, was it Teddy Roosevelt that was shot on his way to giving a speech?
And then he gave the speech.
And then he gave the speech, right? So, and because the speech was so thick, the bullet didn't fully penetrate and arm him. So part of me is like, all right, well, it's kind of America. This just kind of happens. But then we went through a period, basically from Reagan to what happened in Butler, where it really didn't happen. You had a Secret Service. You had one guy, Clinton, flew a plane into the White House. There were some other little Yahoo moments that popped up. So I'm trying to wrestle with, did we have a moment and period of time that was uniquely not American because we didn't have those attempts? Because if you go back into the past, it just kind of happened. Or did we have a country that said, we're going to take protecting our elected officials a lot more seriously? For 40 years, we did a pretty good job of it. And now, because of the failures of the Secret Service and maybe internally, we're returning back to a time where people are taking shots at our presidents. What do you think?
I think it's a mosaic of problems.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, the Secret Service isn't hiring the best and the brightest for the job, but also the rhetoric of the left has just amped up. I mean, I don't remember them accusing John McCain of being a threat to democracy and saying that Mitt Romney, even if you wanted to bring back slavery, which was one of the accusations that Joe Biden lodged against Mitt Romney, they didn't say it'll be the last presidential election of our lifetime if you vote for Mitt Romney.
It was binders of women and dogs on top of cars that were the big complaints.
Right. I mean, that was 12 years ago. Compared to 2024, it's an anodyne presidential campaign to accuse someone of bringing back slavery. Now it's like, this will be the last election, they say, if President Trump wins. And so people are reacting to that and saying, I've got to take this into my own hands. And if you're crazy enough to think that that's actually going to happen, you might also be crazy enough to take the shot.
Talking to Will Trachman, General Counsel for Mountain States Legal Foundation. He's live in studio. You can see him on Zoom, X, and Rumble. Along with us, we'll continue this conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Weil in Dallas, and here are your top stories. The International Brotherhood of Teamsters publicly releasing 6 months of membership polling data on who union members preferred, showing that President Donald Trump beat out Kamala Harris by a whopping 58 to 31%. However, union leaders decided not to endorse either candidate. Unions notoriously endorse Democrats in each election, so many are now saying this is indeed a blow to Harris and are questioning Sean O'Brien's statement when he said there was no definitive data showing union member support for one candidate over the other, pointing to the polling data that was released on Wednesday.
It's a great honor. They're not going to endorse the Democrats. That's a big thing. And this is the first time in, I guess, 50, 60 years that that's happened. Democrats automatically have the Teamsters.
The last time a union did not endorse a presidential candidate was in 1996. Israel's defense minister declared a new phase of war as officials from the terror organization Hezbollah and Lebanon state media say explosions went off in Beirut and multiple parts of Lebanon in an apparent second wave of detonations of electrical devices. Hezbollah officials and state media said Wednesday that walkie-talkies and even solar equipment detonated a day after hundreds of pagers blew up. Lebanon's health ministry says at least 14 people were killed and 450 were wounded.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Weil, Salem News Channel.
What if this sound actually made you smile, giving you a chance to win gas and groceries for a year? It's the $13,000 gas and grocery giveaway. The grand prize winner gets $10,000 in gas and grocery gift cards. 2 first prize winners get $1,000 in gift cards. And 2 second prize winners get $500 in gift cards.
Presented by Branch Planning. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. The $13,000 gas and groceries giveaway. Enter today at 710knus.com.
back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us live in studios, Will Trachman, General Counsel for Mountain States Legal Foundation, a wonderful organization based here in Colorado that is fighting in the courts to protect your constitutional rights. Talked about one case where they are investigating the U.S. Secret Service and its DEI policies. If you want to learn more, you know somebody that worked in the U.S. Secret Service, particularly a male that felt like they were denied opportunities simply because they were a dude. They want to talk to you because they want to improve the Secret Service and make sure our democracy is protected. I'm so glad you guys are doing that, Will. You've also got some other cases you're taking on. Interesting one about Advanced Colorado and tax cuts.
Yeah, this is a great local advocacy organization, Advanced Colorado, trying to run.
Michael Fields, KBB.
Exactly. Yeah, Christy Burton Brown is co-counsel with us on the case, and they're trying to run tax cut measures as they ought to do. You know, this is one thing that we've seen be successful in Colorado, despite the political move away from conservatism locally. And so they have been trying to get more and more tax cuts on the ballot. Except the Colorado legislature, which is controlled by the Dems, have decided to try to sandbag these efforts by passing a law saying that any tax cut ballot measure that you put has to include this very pejorative language. It has to say, in order to pass this tax cut, you will reduce healthcare and judicial functions and welfare. And so do you want to do those things in order to pass this tax cut? Because they know that voters in Colorado are relatively educated. They read. And when you want to go gather signatures at King Soopers, people are going to read before they sign. And so what the effort is to deter people from trying to sign the ballot or vote for the ballot.
But it doesn't necessarily do that. That's the thing, right? So if you do a general sales tax cut, for instance, or an income tax cut, that's to the general fund. It's up to the lawmakers to figure out. Right?
Yes, and in this case, the case that we're representing, Advanced Colorado, it is demonstrably false. It will have absolutely no effect on any of those things. Of course, it's always up to the legislature to decide what to do with the revenue. But
we have a thing called the long bill that does that.
Right. In this case, the government, the Colorado Attorney General, doesn't even dispute that the language is false. That the Colorado legislature is forcing Advanced Colorado to put demonstrably false language on its signature gathering petitions.
It sounds like to me like something you would put on there that says like, because of this tax cut, 2,000 puppies will lose their lives because funding will not go to the Denver Dumb Friends League. It's like, what?
Yeah. And you could imagine it getting worse. Like you'd be like, do you want to be a big dum-dum and vote for this thing? And so the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, which is here in Denver, said, you know, this is the government's speech. It's not Advanced Colorado speech, and the government, the government's allowed to
compelling speech. Essentially,
the government's allowed to lie. There's no law. There's no part of the Constitution that says the government can't lie. And so we have appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, saying absolutely this is Advanced Colorado's speech. You can't just force someone to be sandbagged or tied to something that is negative like this. It's designed to sandbag the effort. And we used a couple of funny examples. We're like, imagine if a local city had like a candidate forum and all the incumbents got to be in a well-lit room where it says honest and good people, and all the challengers had to be in a dim room that said liars and people who harm children, right? That's the government sandbagging your effort to appeal to voters.
That's amazing. All right, you're also working one up in Boulder that could have national implications on energy policy.
Yes, so the county of Boulder has sued Exxon Mobil and Suncor Energy for climate change. You know, so if you get into a car accident, that's called a tort action. You sue for your injuries. Boulder is saying that just like a car accident, climate change is an injury to Boulder, and so they're trying to set national energy policy.
How? Who's harmed?
Well, so obviously we all use energy.
Asthma or something? Somebody, I mean, is that what they're going for?
So they say rising temperatures and all the impacts of climate change are going to be laid at the doorstep of Exxon and Suncor, even though I'm confident that the county of Boulder is using energy right now, fossil fuel energy.
And wearing Patagonia jackets, which are made out of oil and gas.
That's right. So they're aiding and abetting, of course, these climate change crimes. And so they are trying to bring this suit. And the Boulder trial court said, yeah, I'm going to let this case go forward. And to its credit, the Colorado Supreme Court, which is 7 Democratic appointees right now, is reviewing the appeal.
Out of 9?
No, 7 out of 7.
7 out of 7, all of them?
Yeah. The
Are
two
Democrat the
That's right. So the 2 Owens appointees are gone now. One retired, mandatory age limit, and one went to the 10th Circuit, Allison Hyde. So it's 7 out of 7 right now. Democratic
So is this, Billy, is this when we start to launch our Pack the Court effort like the Democrats are
That's what
doing,
we need.
right?
And I want to know, from Will Trachman that's joining us today, how come the people in Boulder that are so worried about the climate change, why aren't they riding the bicycles? Because I'm pretty sure that
Especially
the people,
in February.
Well, the thing for me is that I'm pretty sure that when they delivered the lawsuit and when they did the gathering and when they talked to each other, that they drove cars to do this. And the idea being that if they're so concerned about the impact, there are, and again, we always talk about on Throw Rocks, the liberal side of it, the change begins with you. So how about you change? I'm just saying, maybe you need to change yourself.
Yeah, right. Live by your principles. You know,
Yes.
if you think that climate change is hurting Boulder, then why aren't you doing more to stop it?
Now, they always strike me as like the pastors that talk about like the importance of purity. And then they have like 5-side.
Yeah. Or they talk about the prosperity gospel.
Yeah,
That if you give me your money, God will bless you.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, wink. Yes,
I know.
exactly.
It always strikes me as the hypocrisy is amazing.
No, so I'm Jewish. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'll just laugh along. Yeah.
By the way, kudos to the Jews out there on the pager thing. We've been talking about that for the last 2
that is
days.
so cool.
I went down to the East Side Market yesterday and had lunch, and that was the point of conversation.
Yeah.
A big win. So Mountain States Legal Foundation, you all rely on donations to provide these services to clients, right?
That's right. So we're a pro bono law firm, which means we don't charge our clients our legal fees. And that's one of the huge deterrents to bringing legal actions is that every hour spent by your lawyer is an hour you have to pay them, except with us. We are entirely pro bono. You can submit a case, whether it's about the Secret Service discrimination issue or otherwise, on our website at mslegal.org. We're not just looking for supporters and contributors, although we are. We're also looking for good cases because the way we make an impact in Colorado and the West and across the country is by suing. And so whether that's in Boulder or in Washington, D.C., we are always looking for good lawsuits to bring against the government.
I mean, to be honest, that's like the last resort that constitutionalists have in this state to be able to protect their rights, because they'll just go down to the state capitol and pass whatever they want. The governor will sign whatever they want. But and everybody knows some of the other cases like Jack Phillips and 303 Creative, those were advanced legally.
Yeah.
Not statutorily, legally. And so you need great organizations like Mountain States Legal Foundation, the cases that they're doing to protect not just your own individual rights, but everybody's rights in this state.
Absolutely. I mean, Alliance Defending Freedom, which represents Jack Phillips, is a sister organization of ours. We're a huge fan of their work. We try to help them on their cases. They try to help us on our cases. And
but you take different cases, right? I mean, just different issue sets, I guess is what I'm saying.
So
right?
occasionally we'll cross over on speech issues because we do free speech, and a lot of their cases, like Jack Phillips' case, is a free speech case, although it's also a freedom of religion case. But they're just a fantastic organization. We're working closely with them.
But you all take on Second Amendment,
Yes.
equal protection, natural resources.
Yeah.
Man, great organization. I mean, Colorado would really be lost if it wasn't for Mountain States Legal Foundation. So you can learn more about them by going to mslegal.org, mslegal.org. Are you on Twitter, Will Trachman?
I personally am not on Twitter, but Mountain
We
States
don't
Legal
get your
is.
tweets.
Good choice. Very, very good choice.
That's smart as an attorney.
Remember how we started this conversation about me wanting to become a judge someday?
You in front of the show, Chris Murray, too.
Yeah, you don't want someone, like Chuck Schumer coming up there and going, "Do you see this meme that he posted 5 years ago?" I don't want that. That's not good. That's not good.
I've loved the beeper memes, though. I don't know if you've been following.
Oh, dude, we were watching all the videos.
was amazing.
We spent 2 days talking about this.
That was so cool.
It is. I mean, the precision, right?
Yeah.
You literally can't get more precise.
No,
And
it's
you have
how personal it is.
now labeled all the Hezbollah terrorists, too.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about, Will Trachman. We were talking about the idea that in a very, I guess you would say, universal way, they have marked them like Hester Prynne in Pride and Prejudice. They've given them the scar of their association, something they can't take away for the rest of their life. I love that.
And free gender reassignment surgery.
Oh, that is the best.
I'm finishing with that. Ladies and gentlemen, Will Trachman, General Counsel for Mountain States Legal Foundation. Thanks so much for being in studio with us, giving us an update, defending those constitutional rights. If you missed anything, 710knus.com. You've been listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Have a good day.
Oh.